Up. I can also make a little bit bigger if it's. Yeah.
Okay, so she will.
Yeah. And she will also tune in, and she will explain details about oraclize. So you can basically define many contracts in one file, and then certain functions that would repeat, you basically can reuse with this inheritance. This is what we were talking last time, if you remember. And then, so we have funder is inheriting common and player, but player is also inheriting the using oraclize, but we didn't define it. But if you remember, I mentioned that we will check this import. So basically, you can import also some contracts somewhere online by putting the URL that leads directly to where?
Probably it's point to that file, right?
Aha, 0.5. So it's just working.
Okay, then it's here.
This one.
So they can.
Yeah, but it works. It's somehow the way how this IDE treats it, it figures out what it needs to import.
It's always retrocompatible. Like when they say use version 0.5, and at least 0.5 is 0.
Where's the contract you are going to? You are going to contact now.
For now, 0.5 directly if you don't want to let it auto update.
Yeah,
there's a lot of and then you link it from there. And if you want, then you can update it.
You can send it to the.
So the contract is on. This is our Aline. She's our colleague working on this from Taiwan, and the contract lives here. So I can send you the link. Maybe she even updated it a bit. Wait, I have to go to our program. Thank you. I have so many chats. I don't even know which one anymore. But yeah, so basically, even common mixin, for example, if we would want to use it for other contracts, we could put it somewhere on GitHub and then just basically import it. So we make cleaner code, we make it more modular, and even reuse certain parts. And then we had, if you remember, the common mixin, we have funder mixin, and we have player mixin. And at the end, we have the fitness contest. And this is the whole logic about like how defining a winner of the contract, calculating the winners, get total amount of funding that we received, and all this stuff. And now we will try to play with this contract directly from Remix. So this, I have open now, it's a tool like a IDE for writing Solidity contracts. And we can compile it here. Sometimes it's buggy because it's open source, and then we are constantly working on improvements because we are working with Alex for this Remix tool also. Yeah. Okay.
Where did you compile them? On what machine?
Yeah. So
in the browser.
In the browser.
Yes.
We compile.
So there's the Solidity compiler is written in C++, and there is a tool, it's called Scripting, which can compile C++ to JavaScript or transpile or whatever. And it's around 8 megabyte big, and there's many versions. And in the browser, we download this 8 megabyte JavaScript file into the browser, and then we use this generated compiler inside the browser to compile this Solidity contract. And then you can from there even deploy it to the blockchain if you have an Ethereum wallet extension installed, like for example MetaMask. It's like a little fox there.
Yeah, we will check this, but like maybe we can check the details about the compilation. You asked before that you want to see the ABI. So this is now when we compile, it generates as the ABI.
Next to other stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know.
This is actually just a JSON file, but it's like it's a drop down to display the JSON.
So you see that, I don't know, we have like some non-payable functions.
Yeah, the first, if you get to the first, it's the name is on time. That's this function. And
So what actually, can you explain what we read? What, like, step by step?
right. So for example, the first under 0,
Yes.
there is it says first constant is true, and this comes from the you can still
Can
hear.
you open it?
It's wait, it's still visible in line 20.
Is on time, you see.
In line 20, you see function is on time, and it has a keyword public, and then comes constant. So that's why there's constant true, because it's a constant function. Then is on time in line 20 has no params. So in those little parentheses, there is nothing inside. So that's why in the line 2 inputs is empty. It doesn't have any inputs.
Again.
Uh-huh.
Say it again.
Here,
Yeah, there is no
argument,
no
params.
inputs. It doesn't take any inputs.
Yes.
So that's why there in the inputs are empty.
Okay,
It doesn't have
cool.
any arguments.
So what is an ABE?
An ABE is like a description. So for example, in line 20, you have the function, and it has also the source code. Inside in line 21,
Yes.
it says return start time plus duration.
Yes.
And there can be a lot of logic inside of such a function. And the ABI is describing only the function signature. So it says the name is on time, it's a public, it's a constant. You can interact with it, but it doesn't include the logic. So
And is the ABE is automatic created
Yeah.
line programming?
By the code.
yeah, it's automatically created, and it maybe if I think of the real world, for example, there's Deutsche Post, and if they demand letters from you in certain or boxes, you have to package it in certain ways, and then they deliver it. How they do it, you don't know, but maybe they have a web page where they describe you all the services and what you need to do.
Documentation of the
Yeah, it's a
code?
kind of an automatically generated documentation.
For the
Of the
computer.
source code.
Yes, and you can use it, or you can use it with the help of some other programs to interact with this
But it's a part
service
of the
provider.
source code officially.
Sorry?
Is it part of the source code officially?
No, but there's a program that automatically generates it from the source code. So
And why do we use it?
It's like a fingerprint of the
kind of, yeah.
of the
Of the
Sync.
contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, why we need it is like when we build another program and we want to talk to the smart contract, then we can use this fingerprint or this service description, and we can give it as a certain data to this program that wants to talk to the smart contract, and then it knows what are all the functions available and how do I talk to the smart contract.
Like when we build the front end, when we will build the JavaScript front end, we will have to tell JavaScript that
So
Yeah.
it's like a Schnittstelle between.
Yeah, exactly. It's describing the interface.
RPE is the same.
Yes, it's basically very similar.
it could be like an API of this.
Exactly.
smart
The only
contract.
difference is that these is like a for bytes. So it's like it's a binary. So the
Interface.
It's a
Yes.
kind of bridge between JavaScript and.
yeah, but you can
Any-
think of it as an API. It's like kind of a different way of naming it, but it essentially does the same thing.
Yeah, because JavaScript doesn't understand Solidity, but understands the JSON format.
And your APE is created by your compiler.
Yes, it's created by the compiler.
All this.
You could, in theory, of course, also write it manually. If you have the source code, it's not so hard, but the compiler creates it for you.
And this.
what is this?
So,
This is maybe interesting for errors.
okay, so the Ethereum virtual machine understands a certain kind of assembly code, and Solidity is one language that you can write smart contracts in. There is a few others, and those will always be compiled to some bytecode that represents these kind of opcodes. It's an assembly language for the Ethereum virtual machine, and they are documented. And this is actually what it can understand. And this is the equivalent assembly code that represents the Solidity code.
Okay, so you find these details after you compile here under details.
Can you click again the details maybe?
Mhm.
Go to the top, to the very top.
Mhm.
So there's also here in bytecode, I think the third. here you have in the, I think it's in base 64 encoding, it's also the binary version of the compilation result, which is what is actually getting deployed to the blockchain if you want to.
So this is actually.
Yeah, this one is an object. I think an object. Yeah, this one. Yeah, the bytecode is actually what is later in zeros and ones, kind of on the blockchain.
And then when we call it, it gets compiled back, so we can, like, how does it?
So once you have this program deployed to the blockchain, you can send commands to the network to a certain address. When you compile it, when you deploy it, so when you upload it, you get an address back. And then you can always send certain instructions to that address. And this means random computers on the network will take this bytecode and your instructions and compute the result. It's kind of, this is the Ethereum, the global computer made up of many computers. That's a complicated process.
Maybe we can continue because we will actually deploy it and then you can
just one
explain
question
all the
before.
steps.
This bytecode can be documented not in Ethereum but in any other blockchain. True or false?
You can upload the data to another blockchain.
Yes.
But does it accept
but will it be executed? Can you usually another blockchain wouldn't have the logic implemented so that you can send instructions or commands, and then the blockchain clients that together build the network would take your instructions and this code and compute the result and even update the state.
But there are a lot
So I don't know. This is like something.
Yeah, but there are a lot of blockchains that are like compatible with Ethereum. So
Yeah, okay, if it's compatible, maybe. So the idea of Ethereum as a blockchain is also that it includes a computer that represents a virtual computer. All the people that join, they have a virtual computer. So there's actually program logic on the blockchain, and you can interact with it. So this part is not just about data storage like a database. It actually, you can send commands and then other computers in the network based on this bytecode that represents the program update the state of the computer.
So you actually gave answer that there are other blockchains than Ethereum that can take it and work from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of, because Ethereum is kind of the leading blockchain, so there's a lot of other blockchains that have different features and different, a different focus, but they usually try to be compatible with Ethereum. Also because if there's like dApps that are right now working on Ethereum can eventually move easier on other blockchains. So they kind of try to be.
Also, one more thing, maybe in the MetaMask extension, if you click it, you can see already 4 blockchains listed there. One is called the mainnet, which is the official one, but we have a couple of test networks. They are running the same software, but they're disconnected from the mainnet. They don't know anything about each other. And also, there's different implementations of the Ethereum specification. So one is written in Go, and one is written in maybe Node, and one is written in C++. So you can run any of those and make your own test network. And whether it's a test network or not, that's kind of like how you use it. So in this sense, it's already different blockchains. And
that's fine. That was my question. So it's this code plus some logic that we can say compatible or not compatible to Ethereum, and then we have it run.
Yes.
So do you know MetaMask?
The Fox.
Yeah, the Foxy. This is like a wallet, Ethereum wallet, which is actually your identity, because whenever you do a transaction in the Ethereum ecosystem, you have to sign this transaction so that it knows where it comes from. And usually you also have to pay a certain amount of gas, they call it, which is basically a contribution to all the miners. So everybody who is running all the nodes.
Also executing, it's basically they are also executing the code. They are the computer. I mean, somewhere there needs to be hardware where this is actually executed. So if you want to, you don't donate your hardware when you run the Ethereum, but you get paid in this Ether token. And then maybe you get from some random other people, you get certain payloads, and they basically say, okay, this is the command and this is the code. Please calculate the result and give it back to the blockchain. And There's some complicated logic, I guess, where it's even executed on many clients and then cross-checked. So and
because these computers run some on electricity
and on real hardware, so then this is how they get paid for it.
With this gas that we pay for our transactions. So in order to be able to do this in the browser, there is this MetaMask project.
Actually, maybe one more thing: what you saw, the assembly code. Every opcode, so every assembly command in the documentation has a certain amount of gas cost, which is an abstract number for how much computation it requires. And then you can calculate the entire gas cost, which stands for the computation. And then based on the value of gas, you have to pay it with Ether. And that depends on how much is this computation currently worth and how much is Ether worth, and then
we can check how much will cost us now to deploy this, because we want to. We are currently on Rinkeby test network, so here you can go directly to the main network, and this means that you will pay actually the transactions with the real Ether. But you have many test networks where you get test Ethers that are free, that you can basically try out and play with them. But I saw already some dApps, these decentralized apps, that run completely on the test network because they don't need this.
Can you imagine, like, let's say, A4 contract, how much gas it will take? Do you have some relationship between such and such wording?
We can check. We can try to deploy this one.
Maybe
and
can you
check.
click on one function line, on line 20, for example? So you see there is here in gas estimation.
Okay.
So there's basically programs that estimate, that try to calculate how much gas it will cost.
So now it's like said how much it's in dollars this?
This is for this function.
Hard to say. If we actually click on transaction in the MetaMask, will give you a.
So this function will cost such and such gas.
Yes.
Yeah? Whoa, how much it is in dollar?
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's
Let's see. Let's try to now deploy. So basically, we compiled, and now we basically here we have all the contracts that we compiled, because when we compiled this file. We compiled also all this.
Common mix.
Yeah.
How much costs common mix?
Yes. When we compiled this file, we compiled also all the contracts, all the dependencies of this contract. So you have Oraclize, you have Thunder mixin, you have all of them here. And now we will deploy the common mixin. So we have to log into our MetaMask, because with this we will execute. We have to be on Rinkeby. Later you will try to also recreate this. So and we click deploy.
So now you get a pop-up.
And this is now, it tells us how much it will cost us. It will cost us $0.05.
5 cents.
Yeah.
Yes.
This real
to deploy to the network.
Yes.
But not to run it, just to deploy.
To
deploy it, yes.
And then running how?
I mean, running.
Depends which function you execute.
This. You cannot calculate how much it will cost to run it.
I think you can in the code. We tried to click one function. No, I think one. So the problem with the estimation.
Wow.
Yeah, the problem with the estimation.
Is this a lot to you?
It's no. First, it's it depends what you do.
I mean, if I imagine how much does it cost you? Like I have a server for this refugees
you don't
app,
use it
and
for
I
rendering.
pay seven euros a month for.
Yes, but it's not. It didn't answer yet the main thing. The main thing is that there are those, like in the end, this Ethereum is also a calculator thing, and then the calculator will calculate this mixing, the common mixing class or function, whatever you call it, and then it will cost something to run it, and this is something that always you pay for.
Yeah, let's check
this.
Okay.
Let's first deploy it.
So we deploy it like this by clicking the deploy button, of course, and here below we have a terminal that.
So now we have to wait a little bit because now our transaction is pending. So we need to wait maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds until it's confirmed. Now it got confirmed. Now what this IDE does, it generates an automatic interface based on the ABI. And maybe now you can maybe show
What do you
the automatic interface that it generates from the ABI.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
So this is all that is in common mixing. We have like 2 functions practically.
It's a form.
So what we have to deploy now, I figured out I made a mistake. We have
Okay,
to actually deploy the
But it's perfect
fitness
example
mixin.
for read only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So how much it costs to run it?
Free. It's free.
Free.
Because it was a view only, she made a mistake.
Again?
It was a view only. She didn't do it right.
No. The point is that like if we want to have access to all the functions, we have to actually deploy fitness contest because fitness contest actually includes all of them.
Yeah, I know.
But we can still check this deployed contract, just common mixing, and just to see how we can interact. Like Alex said, it's a good
Please,
example.
I need explanation why this cost free and what cost.
No, it's just like, okay.
You can tell it.
Yes. One thing was deploying a contract to the network.
Okay.
And inside of this contract, we have certain functions. So here we have a function is on time and is owner. And if you look at here, when we deployed, we got like a little interface with is on time, is owner, and owner function.
Okay.
And what do they do? So basically, now when we are developing still, we can actually try out if our functions even work. So let's try out, because I deployed, I want to check like who's the owner.
Okay.
So if I click this function, it gives me who's the owner. It's an address of the owner.
Okay.
And now I can check my address and see, is this really me? And here, this is my address. So here under account, I can copy and I can now paste it, for example, I don't know, or here, does it recheck? And you can see the last 3 numbers are 5D6, and what is here? 5D6. So it gives me information about who's the owner by calling a function. I don't know, where does it get even the owner?
Address, line 8. Line 8.
Yeah, owner. So it calls this thing. So now we can check, I don't know, who, if a certain address is the owner. So I will now copy paste my address here and ask the function, you see, is owner needs a certain argument, address, and when you run it, it returns whether the address is the owner or not. So we expect what do we expect? What can be possible returns? True or false. So now because we gave the argument, the param my address, and we check, we get the true.
Is it free to run this function?
And
Yes.
this is the thing, yeah. Those functions are
But even if it would be very complicated, this owner
Yes.
containing 1,000.
Yeah.
yes,
Still,
because you see this, it has a keyword constant, and all these constants don't change the state in the database, in the blockchain.
Okay, so,
So
the
because-
computation is very.
They're free.
It's free.
Once,
Yes.
It's free.
So all this information, I mean, to get the information from the blockchain,
The idea is
It's
basically
if you want to change the state, then you pay.
if there is many nodes that many servers that or programs that run and save the blockchain, you only need one copy and you can get the data from it to check, and you can run your own node locally and you can check because it's read only. But if you change the state, you have to change it to deploy the state to everyone who runs a blockchain. So many computers all over the world have to update, and that's a lot more expensive than taking just from a single database somewhere where is one copy of the blockchain to take the data.
And why do I want this? Why do I want my contract to be on all those?
You might not want it. The idea is that on the blockchain, everybody who joins this blockchain, you have a global database, or even here in a global computer where you have certain rights, permissions to interact with certain smart contracts. And everybody, if this is now like a good concept in general, do you really need blockchain? And if you need it for what? That's like a bigger question.
Yeah, but otherwise, like a concept of a smart contract is actually backend and it doesn't run on your centralized server, but it runs on all these computers. So
I think there's a lot of decentralized use cases where you don't need necessarily a blockchain. So yeah.
But I think this is a big discussion.
Yes,
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a good question, but then I think we talk forever.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So that's why we
So
have
it
to
just
continue.
to open
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but
Yes.
it's definitely. I mean, what interests me in all this is like a concept of this decentralized database and like how does it work, and then because this is similar to other peer-to-peer projects in a way.
Yes.
So then, like, just to understand the concepts that are different from traditional database, but
Yes.
it's not that like, okay, this is the only right way. And I think that even people in the Ethereum ecosystem are not like, this is the only way we are.
Yeah, they're arguing like a lot
Yeah,
all day
and
long.
they're trying to find the best possible way. That's why all this open source and like everybody can come and comment and add and change.
And there's also, for
contribute.
example, the Ethereum main network, but there's an Ethereum Classic. So there was a fork because the developers couldn't all agree. So there's like differences. And it might even happen again. For now, there's 2 Ethereum versions, but maybe there will be more.
And it's not a company, it's a foundation. So basically it already works pretty decentralized. Like we are also contractors, but it doesn't mean that like Vitalik, the big boss, comes and gives you the to-dos. It's basically like work on this tool and make it better. And we not even work on this tool. Basically the team that started before we joined just had an idea that this tool would be useful, and they started working on it. So it's not like top down.
It's very free for
Yeah.
people to experiment. Yeah.
And the money in the Ethereum is from, because they did the initial coin offering. So they offered their coins and people invested in this, and this basically runs all the work. So it's not like some investors from Silicon Valley that are now waiting for profits to be returned in the ecosystem.
Yeah, all the crypto thing is dancing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. But okay, so let's try to deploy now the fitness contest, because then we will get all the functions available. So we can remove this one
What happened then?
and confirm.
Yeah,
So if
it
you
costs
want
now
Why we need to pay now? What?
0.94
For what?
for
for the fitness contest contract. It's a
Yeah.
little bit
Now
bigger.
it's bigger.
Yes.
What happened? What happened? then?
Okay, I will tell you now just that I click the deploy, and the fitness contract is the contract that actually includes all the contracts.
Okay.
So fitness contract includes player mixing and funder mixing. And
And-
if you remember, funder mixing already includes the common mixing
Yes.
and oracleized mixing.
Yes.
So it's more code.
Yes.
Yeah, and player mixing
And
also.
now
So
it's
this is
do
everything.
updating to the.
Yeah, it creates a new copy, completely new contract. It has nothing to do even with this common.
So now we can
mixing.
check, and now we get all the functions that are available in all the contracts, and now we can try them out.
Wait, maybe you can. What could be in the drop down on the top? Yeah, this one. This one is actually the address. So when it got deployed, when we uploaded the compiled code of this contract to the blockchain, we got an answer from this request, and it included this address. So this is the address under which the contract code lives on the blockchain.
Like here, when we kind of do this transaction, like everything that we do is a transaction. So when we deployed, we created a transaction. When we call a certain function, we create a transaction. And here in this terminal, we have logs of all the transactions. So now the last one was deploying this fitness contest. And here, here we can also kind of see it was successfully deployed. Is this the address? Let me see there. This is
Do
the
you
one
really
where-
check all those addresses all the time?
Sometimes you
I
check
mean-
if everything kind of
There
is...
can be mistake in this.
No. But sometimes you want to see, like I can show you with the next thing when we will call now one function. We will now do the funding. So here, when we, in the front end, let's say Ares wants to fund this thing.
You will update your name, I guess.
Yeah. We can do this
Wow.
transaction.
What I need to what?
Sorry,
You $7.
$7.
Okay.
That's quite cheap. That cannot be. It has to be more. 0.5 ethers should be more than $7. Ah, no, this is, I don't know. Okay.
We're waiting. Now it's confirmed. So now
If you
technically
refresh.
it should be here.
The
So
first
errors.
one.
Ooh, we gave the 1 ether.
Yeah, because from this last time there was Nina 0.5 ether, but now when she did that, she had the same address as now, and now she funded again 0.5, so it says in total it's 1 ether, but it updated her name from Nina to Eres, because the last time that she donated something, she used this name.
And we have the logic in the contract that if you donate from the same address,
it will add to the same account, but you can't change.
Yeah, the last name that you used will be shown as a funder name, and all the contributions will be collected.
Under that name.
Yeah.
Under the new
Yeah,
name.
yeah. So now Nina is gone.
So you can
but
donate
Eris
again
is
and
here.
return your Nina name.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, but now because we built already the front end and everything, but when you are practicing or like building something at home or like just having solidity, you don't want to build the whole front end to try if this works. So you build the contract and then you get this form that is like
This is what the users see actually.
No, the users will see this.
Yeah.
Because users.
This is a custom version of the form. The form is a generic one
that you get for free
Yes,
inside
you
of
get
this
it.
tool, so that you
The
can
custom
try
one
out.
you have to build yourself, but it takes more
So
time.
actually you can show to the user all those.
Yeah.
Yes, and they can use it, and people are familiar with forms, so it's even usable in a way.
So now if I want to
But it's very basic.
Yeah. So this contract now is not the same contract as this one. This one was already deployed by this Eileen that built this. So now I deployed some other contracts. So if we now check who are the funders, for example, get number of funders, it's 0. We don't have any funders here because if you remember, we just deployed this contract, this particular instance of the contract 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, it has the same source code, but it's a completely new
instance
or process or whatever.
So you see, it's like a contract. This is what Alex was before saying. Contract is just a template. This is just written template. But once you deploy it, it becomes an instance. Like it becomes the real thing. So you can 10 people can use this and create 10 different contests. Totally unrelated, totally different front end, different story, but they use the same.
But I have a question. So the contract that they used on what we see on the front end now, can you access it again?
Yes.
This was my question.
Yeah, you can go in the source code, even show the hard-coded address.
I actually wanted something else.
All right.
I wanted to share with you this contract's title address, and then you can open it on your computer and try to access exactly this one.
Nice.
But first, let me just do the funding because you see that currently we have no funding here. So on this particular contract, I want my name, not Eris anymore, to fund. But to fund, basically, it's a little bit of a not the best user experience. You have to, if you send some value to the contract, you have to put it here. So it's not exactly next to the, but just that you know.
Yeah.
So 0.5, I will fund. So I will use this function fund. I don't know where exactly it is. Fund. Okay, somewhere here, you remember. And we will execute it. And now, again, I have to confirm it because it's a red function and because I will change the state, it's payable.
What you pay now? I don't.
Okay. If I make a new transaction, and because this transaction is changing the state on the blockchain, so now the number of funders and the funding summary will change.
Yes.
That means that all these computers in the network will have to update their state.
And you pay $100.
But it's no. There's different. There's one is the gas fee. That's very cheap, 3 cents. Okay. But the other one is how much money you want to fund for the contest. So she said, I want to fund $100. This is, she said, custom.
Okay.
Because I'm a funder now of the contest.
Yeah.
0.5 equals.
Yeah, because one
So it's
ether is
0.5
currently around
plus
200
the
US dollars on the market.
So my current transaction is actually funding. So I'm a sponsor who is sending 0.5 ether, and I'm paying 0.5 ether plus 0.03 ethers for just transaction costs, like on the bank. So now you see we got like the new confirmation. So transaction was mine, it was successful. You can, this is when RS said if I'm always checking these details. Oops.
Not always, but sometimes.
Not always, but sorry. Yeah. I just want to see, did I send the right thing with my name? Yes. So the input was Nina. Cool. And now if we check what is now the number of funders, we have one. What is now the total amount of all the funding? It's 5 zillions. I don't know. It's in Bay. This is like 1 unit.
It's like dollar and penny or euro and cents. So there's also other ways of expressing this ether.
Yeah. So calling these two functions didn't cost me anything. You saw? It didn't open the MetaMask, and I didn't have to confirm because those
The
where I
blue
get
ones.
only the information are for free. I only pay for those.
For the red ones.
For those that.
For the red one, you do pay.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, because
because they changed the state.
Okay, I need to understand this very deeply.
Yeah.
This is very.
I mean, it's like you're the
dangerous.
first time hearing anything,
Yes.
so it's of course a lot of information. But now let's try. If I give you now this address from my contract, you can access it on your remix.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yes.
Yes, so this is
So
what
I
we
will
could
send you
do as
here.
an experiment, so that you
Yeah.
can open also Remix.
It's Gitter.
Yeah, on Gitter I'm sending you this, and also I will send you the link to the remix.
Yeah.
So it's actually remix.ethereum.org, but I can also copy.
So-
Rogue, eh? Oh, which one? Yes.
Yeah.
So the red one are the one without constant, and the blue one are the one with constant keyword.
Not
Yes,
necessarily.
not
You
ne-
can have also view. View.
Okay.
Yes, there's multiple ones.
Constant means that it always returns the same value no matter what, but view gives you the current value. So you see
So
the
without writing.
Without updating.
yeah,
Yeah.
without
So
a-
the red one write, and all the rest they
Read.
don't write.
yeah,
Mhm.
they're read only.
Yeah.
So now
I can open.
Big difference. It's very important to
no,
understand.
you don't
Wow.
nothing. You basically now don't need to do anything else than do you
So
have to
talking
open the
becomes
file, Alex?
very expensive. Listening is cheap.
Yes, that was it come to big. And then we say to people, yeah, it's free, it's a decentralized, it's a, whoa, what you did to me.
Just one question: do you need to open the source code to be able to load from
Yes.
address?
Yes.
Yes. So then I have to also give you actual source code that I used for this, because you basically need the.
We can
source
take it
code,
from the repository, no?
But
From
I don't
any-
know if I didn't, if it's completely the same. Maybe
Ah,
she
right. Maybe she
updated
updated already. Then we can make a pastebin, pastebin.com. And then you share the link.
So I paste it in, and how do I share the link?
You just create, at first you have to create it. You have to press the button
Where is it? Create.
on the button, create new paste.
I also without all this.
Yeah, and now you get the link. Ah, okay, you have to enter something. Yeah, now you can share the link.
This is the link. So then you copy it there.
So yeah, now you can on the chat open it.
So this is so much important. What actually is done? You gave her the code,
Yes.
Yes.
so then she hash it, and then she have access to.
Look.
Yeah, if she compiles it, she will get the same ABI.
Yes.
And if you
I
give
can
her the
try it,
address,
actually, here.
she can use now this ABI to in Remix generate this nice form, and then she can connect to this address with this form, and then all the transactions that she clicks on the form will be sent to the address.
So as if she continue her work in another machine.
Yes. Yes.
So if I now copy and
Not completely, because this other machine has different address. She would not be owner.
So she would not have. She would not be continuing to do all what Nina did. She will
Yes.
be new.
Unless she opens her MetaMask to add the right key set to the wallet.
Which is not delivered.
No, which is not delivered.
Okay. Just to understand
Yes.
what is.
Yeah.
So I copy it from Facebook.
Yeah, and now you go here in Remix and just in the file. Yeah.
Do you also want to try?
I
okay.
Then I copy it. I delete this.
So you basically delete, Control A, delete, and Control V, and then you go to
Commit suicide, real life.
okay, you can compile. Just click compile.
This takes some time
No, I
sometimes.
got error message.
Oh,
Let's see.
I mean, because you can.
No, it doesn't.
what is the error message?
I can try it.
Parser error.
Okay, I will try now with.
But you said you download the compiler to your machine. She don't have
No,
that.
the website is yes, but the website is inside the website is downloading it inside the website.
So I'm also
Like when you open a page
on
in the
other-
browser, it displays you sometimes a picture. So the browser downloads the picture, but it's happening inside the website. It's not on your hard drive.
But you said that all the compiler
Okay.
is done by.
By the website, inside.
But you said no. But you said before that you download it to your device.
You know.
Everything
You
is
can do
different.
that, but when you open this web page, the web page, the same as an image or HTML code, it will just download all the compiler code, which is in JavaScript, into the browser environment and starts it in the website. So the compiler is running inside of this web page.
Inside the page.
Yes,
Okay.
it's running inside of the page.
And you cannot actually optimize the compiler, this thing. I mean, if you have JavaScript, it's JavaScript that interprets this language
Yes,
as a compiler for this language.
yes.
So it
Yes.
sounds that could be.
Probably. Currently, it is
Yeah,
a
so now
C++
you compile.
compiler that's
I can also
automatically
show you
translated to
JavaScript.
JavaScript.
And there is some problem.
What, it's C++ or JavaScript? It's two
The
different.
compiler is programmed in C++,
Okay.
but there is a tool which is used. It's called mscripten
Hey, let's move on. Just
yeah.
because I
to
was
compile the C++ into automatic
so now you
JavaScript,
have also address.
not handwritten.
So copy also
Okay.
the address
And this we can
from
use.
the chat. This address here.
It's not perfect, but it
So
works.
you can just double click on it. Copy it. So now you copied the code, you compiled it, you went to the run tab, and now instead of deploy, you don't want to deploy a new instance, but you want to connect to my existing one. So you go to add address. So in the run tab,
And run tab.
Mhm.
Okay, add address.
yeah, and you paste it, and then you click.
Okay.
So let's see, do I have it? Yeah. Oof. And then it should give you access to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have common mixing. Can you switch to the
Fitness?
Yeah, the fitness? And then you do the same. And now you have fitness. Can you go to the fitness and open it, expand it?
It's
And
fucking
now,
complicated
can you try
with
to
this
fund it?
updating. So actually,
Yeah, and
just
it has
let's
to
see
string.
that without
Because it's a string,
updating,
it always has to have
It's not-
double quotations.
and updating costs
So
money.
all the strings always
So
text,
it's
always
actually-
goes double quotations. Yeah.
But
And
it's
wait,
kind of
no?
supposed
Man,
to
yeah,
be
but
cheap.
just
You
one
have to
moment.
turn on
We
top.
go to
You have to put the value, how much are you sending?
blockchain to update.
Here, yeah.
Yeah.
So for
0.5,
example, I want
and
Liquid Union
with
on,
Yeah.
like people will sign into Liquid Union in a blockchain.
Yes.
Example, I want millions of people to do it.
Yes.
Every time they will add more,
more.
they will update. So it will cost.
Yes. This is why there's currently a problem with scaling, They call it a problem with scaling.
But it's problem of pain, not
Yeah, right. But it's also a scaling problem.
yes, it's two
Now
problems.
it
Yes.
is success. Now I can
So
check if
the
it
idea
works.
is, I mean,
So let's
in
get
theory,
it on.
if everybody joins
How many
some system
founders?
like Ethereum, then what you do with
I don't
updating
get
the
the
contract
names.
is actually quite powerful because you write to everyone's person on the planet in their computer.
Uh-huh.
Everybody
So
is
now let's
updated,
check
even
the
though most
founders,
people
then
don't
it should
even
be
need to
3
know.
already.
And this is why they have these side chains that they say, oh, an organization can have
Alex,
their.
it's very
Okay.
hard.
Yeah.
Can you maybe, because like let's together try to form
Okay.
something, huh? Isn't it?
Maybe afterwards we can do the
We
question.
put it all together in this view. So basically, this address that you send,
Yeah.
I need to paste it. I don't know where.
Ah, so
Run. Okay.
Yes.
yeah, did you compile it already?
Yeah.
So first you copy it and then
Maybe I
you
can
compile
help.
it,
You can then continue.
Let's try.
I can try to help.
and then in the run under add address you put it in.
No.
Vilma, when you sent did you put your name in the code?
Contract. Yes. Yes. And then you
Because it's this
now the other one you can close.
yeah, but when you deployed it, you created your own contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to connect with mine, and that we are all kind of interacting with exactly the same data, then you have to go to add address and copy the address of the contract that I sent here in the chat. This is the address.
Then when you a different interface,
You can just double click.
you try to use it, it will tell you it's work. I mean, it sends the transaction to the network, and the network will try to
Yeah.
it says this doesn't work. It's on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Address.
Cool. So now I
You
have
paste it and then click add address.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the same as deploying, but
Yes.
I mean the same. Mine was already deployed, so you call it, and now you can interact with it. The thing is, no, just a second. Reject this. One other thing you have to do, maybe also everybody who tries to recreate, when you come to here and put it in the address, you have to choose the fitness contest.
Well,
So then you didn't deploy it yet. So then maybe back to the compile tab and click the deploy.
It's kind of the interface is heavy. It's not-
Yes, it is, and this is why we started to work on a new project to build a simple version of this.
Yes, it's
Because this one is supposed to support all possible features to whenever the Solidity language offers a new feature, then there's also here something new that people can try out, but we want to make one that is more beginner friendly and has all the basics in a nice user interface, and this one has.
So if somebody tries to
very hard.
recreate, just like
I
once
agree.
again, just that we are all on the same page, click the paste bin. Here is the source code of this project. You copy it and put it in the file in the remix. Once you paste it in,
just a minute, I copy sources.
okay,
Everything?
yes, but not too much, because at least before copied also the add. So you paste it in remix.
Completely.
Yeah, so you can just do Control R, and
This
then
is
it
select
marks.
all.
Yeah. And Control V. And now you click Start to compile. So there is
There's
something was
wrong. Maybe if you
not
click in and again Control R.
control
I
here.
don't know what control is. String.
It's a string, yeah.
Here you have to go in. Yeah.
Steuerung A.
Yeah. String A. You can just do string A and then it marks everything immediately.
And then?
And now
Delete
delete it maybe.
And then
And now
string.
Control. So this should work hopefully.
And now
Oh, I didn't
you can just do start to compile.
Maybe it copied
Paste
something
broadcast
too much.
data.
Something was not copied
Yeah,
correctly.
can I? Yeah.
This is what Alice had a problem. Maybe here
Aha,
you can click raw.
Not just a minute.
yes.
This is the best.
This
and
is
then
better.
it's
I
the
think this
easiest.
is the problem. You have to go back
Here.
to the paste bin.
So in the paste bin, the easiest is if you click raw.
Yeah.
What I click well.
On top.
On top, And then it gives you just the
There's a
code.
button raw.
Because then you have all.
And now when you
and then,
can, you
then
can
you
also
do
use
Control-
exactly.
Control A, Control
Yeah, now it's
C.
safer. Now there's not an additional character or something.
And now you can paste it. Do you want to try it? Do you have a computer also?
Yes. No, I don't want to.
No.
So I want to understand it.
Yeah, right.
For me to understand it's not
Whatever
to
you
the
want to
control,
do.
control.
Yeah.
How do I do it?
You can.
So yeah, I'm very, like now I meet the biggest problem,
Double click.
which is that those red things, which is the update, which is actually the main thing. And more than this, I can say to you another thing that is problematic. If I'm
And then double click.
the third eye,
Right click on
The what?
the third eye,
Okay.
this one, I mean the government,
Yeah.
Fitness.
it's cost me nothing to view everything.
Yeah.
Problem,
Yeah.
it should be opposite.
And now you can.
Yeah.
So to view should cost more than to update.
Right.
So I want to make a new
That means that you
blockchain.
basically
There was the other-
create
Yes.
this machine
So to-
readable,
you want to fucking view?
thing.
Pay.
This,
Right.
These details that machine will understand.
Makes sense. But on the other hand, in this model also, everyone is the
So
government.
this is
Everyone can
compiled,
use
so
it. Not
this
only
is
the
just
government.
like
Everybody
some
can
kind
use
of
it.
thing
Yeah,
For free.
But the problem
So
is
you
that
have it,
some
this-
have
the-
power
now you
other
can go to
than
run.
other to enforce
And
things
now you
that other
basically,
cannot.
But
copy
to
the
enforce things,
address.
they would need to update something. Then they have to pay.
No, to enforce they can send police to your home and then they can
Address of
enforce.
my contract.
Okay, but yeah.
Yes,
Because what you
that's
have now
problem
in the
that people
contract,
meet.
You have
Yeah.
only the template, nothing.
Yes,
This
so
is nothing.
I mean this is the main
But
problem.
this is actually deployed contract
So-
in the Ethereum network. And now
But I
you
think
want
you
to
can
access
still
my
encrypt things,
contract,
and the
but
thing
you
is, this
cannot
is
just
currently,
access
so this is
the
basically the
contract,
model
you have
that
to
it was in the
actually
past.
have,
Now
source
currently,
code of that contract.
the main
So
new
now I gave
update,
you
because
the
it doesn't
source code
scale.
of my
It doesn't scale.
contract, and I gave you the
I mean, people
address
figured
of
out
this
already.
contract.
In practice,
doesn't
So now you can
scale.
recall it, and if you click now,
So in practice, people come to this problem already, and it just doesn't scale. So nothing happens. So
I mean,
the ether value was
yes.
already
But it's a template.
$1,700 for one ether. Now it's the lowest, it's 200, and it's even going more down.
Yes.
Because people
I mean,
don't adopt it, because some people adopted it, but now there's a bottleneck because Facebook is free, Amazon is free, Google searching,
Yes.
everything is free.
Basically,
and
like
update,
if you have a template
everything
of
costs, nobody wants to
real
use it.
contract in paper,
So that's why they're
you
trying.
can have
So
them for many
I want
clients.
to-
But when, I don't know, I come and
To
sign
be
a contract with
completely
you, we
clear.
put this under the
There is
certificate,
problem
and then you know this is
scale
Nina's
and
contract.
problem of
And
cost.
now if you want to change
Why-
something in the
why
contract,
it's
you
the
have
same
to take
in your
exactly this,
It is not
because you
the
have the
same,
same template.
so
There is
also
many
like-
problems for scaling, but this is
So in
one
this
big
sense, now I
part.
gave you my
Why it
address.
is
Okay.
No,
There are some
because
others
if you
maybe
deploy
it
it, then
costs too
you
much
will create
electricity,
a new
some
contract
say
for
to mine.
yourself with your ID,
Why it's need mine?
Yes.
Deploy or
Yes.
Because
If you
somebody has
deploy,
to
you create a
compute.
new one, and then
But
other
it's
people.
the result.
But it's mining of the, so no, like in Bitcoin, mining is just
Like,
to make the seed.
Yeah, here's different.
Sand.
So yeah, what is the mining here?
The execution of the
Okay, and
computation
now
Of the code.
we have to
of the
choose
smart contract.
Common, not for common mixing, but
Now
fitness
I want
contest.
to understand it.
Why fitness contest?
Yeah.
Because
Artistically, a little bit.
exactly.
Now I'm
But
not.
fitness.
Now,
Yes, that I.
so I want to make
So now why
let's
do
say
we use
not
fitness contest? Because
middle
fitness
of
contest
computer
includes all the
writing,
contracts. So all these
the
imports,
data.
all common
But
mixing,
just
the fitness contest is the one
Yeah.
that actually then has.
So I reduce the
Or
cost.
like let's say the most
Yeah.
complex, it
So this
includes
is
all the other.
now the new
And now you
idea.
click at address.
So they say
That
you
means
can
you
run
can
like a
connect it,
local blockchain
and
that
now
is
if you
completely
open
independent,
the
and you can
Yes, yeah.
use it.
so
And
you
there is
get
a
this
mechanism
interface.
how you can, as a
Because
summary
you
or in
before
part,
clicked on
however you
deploy
want,
already, you can close them.
sync
So
it back
that's
up to the main
our-
blockchain if you need to do that.
You need them, and now you have access
Or you
to
just
everything
keep your
in
isolated
my
one, whatever. You don't need to
So you
sync it up.
can
You just
now
can. This is the
add
easiest to
funds,
run your
for
local
example,
test network and you
let's
have it
check
if nobody else
if it
joins.
goes
That's it.
That's very
and you can check.
Yeah, so this is easy. You just download the client,
Get
you give
number of
everybody the
funds.
access to this local network, and then they
And you
use
see
it,
it's
and that's it.
Alice and me. And we have the
And you
same
have this
data
local
because you
test network.
actually
Again,
have
I
access
want
to
to
my.
understand it good. Say it again.
So if I check.
So the same way how you have now in the MetaMask was a mainnet.
To
You're using
my
a network
signed
it's called
contract.
Rocksteam.
This one, you know,
There's
that,
also one that's called
I
Ring.
basically took this
They're separate
template,
networks.
this
It's the same
and
software
I
running,
deployed this to
and they
to
connect to each other, but they don't connect to
And
the
now-
computers that are running the same software but
people can
are
use it
running.
through.
How can I define the devices
You can
that
see all the data from here because
that I
the
connect to? I don't want to,
I didn't try
not
it
just
yet.
this,
because
you
then
can
it will be
interact
fucking
with
interesting.
Yes.
So I could have some Raspberry
by
Pi.
clicking this
and I
thing.
say,
So
you
now you can
Raspberry
basically
Pi, how my-
change stuff from
my-
This part I didn't do, but we have one learner in Taiwan. Like we have now this one. This contract was written by
for example,
He's
here
in Taiwan.
in the
And 1 year ago we went to
Yeah.
Taiwan and we
I will
started
tell you why,
to
but like
explain some
there's
stuff that she learned and she helps us. There's one other guy who, when people
you
back
see
then
in the front
he
end,
came to
he's
Taiwan,
good users.
he actually ran
But here
5
you can
different
access
clients
only to
on his local
things.
computer and one on his smartphone, and he built his own local network.
Let's say, or like
So
So it's possible, but I'm not sure how he did it.
But
So
here,
because I didn't do it yet.
mostly
But this is
that's
to
not the
publish
ones that
this.
I think it's very
already
easy.
protected.
Yes, there's documentation, but I didn't do it.
This is very interesting.
Yes.
I
But
wouldn't
it's isolated.
collect
Now the
it
new
like this,
mechanism
but like
that they
this one
add
is
on to this is
for users.
that when you have such an isolated
Here
software
it's-
that
you
built
can
in
use
network,
everything except
if
for
you
what I
apply,
protected
if you
with
make
the
certain
owner, because this is something
rules or
that
specific,
somebody cannot go and
I don't know exactly how
because
this
when I deploy a
specification
contract,
for this
this
mechanism
address is
works,
public.
but then you
So
can
everybody technically
synchronize
can
some
So it's not
summary
everybody
result
can
or
just
something that you want back to
everything in my
another
contract, they can just destroy
blockchain.
data.
So this is what they want to add. So that they say, okay, now because it's not scaling, everybody is building their local isolated blockchains, but maybe sometimes you want to kind of synchronize back to the momentum, but maybe also not. And then how can we make
share
this
with anyone
work?
the source code, they
Can
can
you
just
How
see
you
the
guarantee
address.
that there is no
You would check it.
I
misinformation?
wouldn't have to decrypt it. I basically, when
One
I deploy it,
blockchain,
this
one
address is
blockchain.
public.
This is described
Because
in this
whenever the
mechanism.
transactions
And
happen,
I think it's
yes, but
going
the source
under
code
under 3 names.
the
One is
source
called
code
sharding.
is private.
No, sorry, not sharding. One is called
Let me just see,
plasma.
Alex, I have a question. When I deploy a contract, my address of this contract is of course visible in the transaction, but what about the source code? Source code is also then public
yes,
through the bytecode because bytecode is then or not.
Yes, so when you deploy something from Remix, what you get is Remix also automatically deploys it to the Swarm network. So from this address, you can download the
No,
exact
but Vilma
source
is
code.
asking if she would now create a contract and deploy it.
Yes.
Can everybody then access this contract because the address is known, but is also the source code known?
No, but if the source code is not known, this does not prevent that somebody will not interact. It just makes it very hard. Because if you don't have the source code, how do you now to actually have to interact with this contract? It's difficult.
Contract is a source code.
No, the contract will be compiled. So the contract will be put into zeros and ones, and this gets uploaded. Yeah, kind of. And this is very hard to read, but not impossible. You can, from this bytecode, figure out what is actually happening.
So in order
But
to
it's much more
secure,
difficult.
in order to secure your contract, you can set these kind of things with only owner,
Yes.
and then only owner, so with his address can execute, and this is something that you cannot.
The idea is to basically set the right permissions. Only this address allowed, or only.
But
So maybe
also
Kiri
this
even has this.
concept, just to understand what you say.
Yes.
It's only the contract, it's not who signed the contract that is
No, just go to the toilet.
becomes
At
secret.
least maybe if
Why it's a
that's not
secret?
bad.
Why the
You can
contract
help
is a
her
secret?
to find-
The contract is not a secret, but to upload the contract code to the the compiled version of the contract is small.
And then maybe because
But the
you
contract
deployed
code is like
also,
all this Solidity
Okay,
language.
okay.
It's a lot of
maybe
data.
somebody else can then
So if you
deploy
upload
and we
this,
can
it's very
all try
gets
to interact
expensive.
with that deployed contract.
Because everybody wants to make the write to the blockchain so as small as possible because this costs. So by default, it doesn't upload the source code because then every transaction becomes more expensive. But of course, if you want
No,
to.
I have another
Aha,
question.
okay.
So I see it from another view.
Oh, sure.
So, if I give you $5, this might be secret. So it's not that a given $5 is a secret. It's just the address of me personally and you, the two specific people, made the transaction under such contract. So in my view, the contracting is never a secret. It's only who used the contract with what values, which is a secret.
Yeah,
So
kind of.
it's like two different things. Nevertheless, now we figure out that even just having the contract when there is update of the contract, someone needs to pay for this.
Yeah.
So this is another issue.
Yeah.
There are two issues here. One is why there is kind of what is the protection on the contract, right, on the specification of the contract? Why should we protect it?
I don't know.
No, I'm just
Aha,
no,
the
the
screen.
stream. I'm just thinking.
I shared it on. Oh, what is this?
And this is like
Correct.
I'm just,
So yes,
yeah.
this
but
one
I'm
I
just,
shared on Facebook and Twitter.
yeah, but look at this. It's not visible, and we are all kind of like talking over this. So I'm just thinking,
I
like,
don't
if
know.
somebody is listening, what do they even see?
It should work. It does.
Okay.
It has a delay of like 20 seconds or something, or
Can you
10.
just make it
Look.
I want to see if it's anything visible.
Yeah, that's why we have to do the screen share too.
Yeah, but I thought that you were actually a little bit better.
I couldn't put it so close. I mean, it's hard. We were practicing still. We're still very amateur in this live stream. It's not very good, but it's something. So what was your question again?
Conceptual, there in the contract.
Yeah.
I distinguish between the value of privacy for the specification of who and under what values made the contract versus having contract.
Having content.
I mean, the contract itself. This is just the contract. This is without who used the contract.
Oh yeah, true.
Yes, so
Everybody can make a contract, but now who uses it?
this is the exactly.
Yeah.
So but the contract itself,
Is a template.
yes. So it's not so much important, or is it? I don't understand.
No,
What is the importance of the contract?
No, in this case it was just important because if we want to very easily interact with the contract on the blockchain, we can use this form, and this form where you can press the buttons in the browser is generated from this API. And how do we get the API? One easy way is everybody copies the source code, compiles the source code. The compiler will give you the API, and we can generate the form.
But it's linked to some elements of the code.
No, then you have just a form, but then you have a little
For
field.
example, it's a code, so there is no copyright of the code or license of the code.
This one I mean, I don't know if you write it yourself, whatever license you give. This one we just gave MIT license.
So if so, there is owner of the code.
Because then.
So there is owner of the code.
But under MIT, it cannot be public domain. I actually don't think.
For example, I am using an
Yeah. Or this one, yes. I don't know. I think we didn't even think of it. We just wrote it. So you know what's going on.
Okay, I think it's supposed.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to change the word,
Imagine this
from the
faker
election,
sending money to drink.
you can use your contact, your license to do things. When you do it MIT or any other, you have to
No,
give
because
away
Alex had like fucking full bag. What should I do?
your right.
Maybe write
Yeah, my right in my
Maybe
we give it.
to yourself.
I don't know. I perceive I give away my right, which is anyway only enforced by people like Brett Kavanaugh and others in some kind of.
To whom you give the right?
I don't know. For me, everybody can use it however they fucking want. I don't care.
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, so I learned that there is such a thing.
But this is anyway just a license in the normal, not in the smart
No,
contract
you
sense.
have this project.
I mean, this normal licenses like MIT, they need some kind of court system and
No, I
police.
understand. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Because you're new here, it asks you.
Now, if I want to make liquid union in,
For example, you could, because they see that you're opening this repository,
How do I do
it's like maybe you will get in touch.
I think,
yeah.
so I'm not 100% sure, but I think you would need to check how to run basically
This
your
happens when you
independent
click
blockchain.
contact info.
Just to get like one way.
Okay, these people, what's the minimum?
You probably would either run your independent blockchain, but if you want to let the world know to some degree that this even exists, then you could probably use this new mechanism that is very new, so there is not a lot of implementations yet, that allows to synchronize some part of some summary, maybe.
Yeah, with this side chain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's basically currently a grant or like a fund run by the Ethereum Foundation that made like a public call or whatever to tell people if they have some cool ideas to use and implement sidechains,
Wow.
they can get money.
Cool. So I can actually
You can apply,
to
yes, exactly. And this came out like a week or two ago.
I
It's
want
very
to
fresh.
I want to help
I have to say, I don't know so many details about my work is usually in the browser with JavaScript, and we're using the compiler, and I kind of know conceptually approximately how it's working. But to implement sidechains, I never did anything. So it's very.
And it doesn't pay off for that.
So I'm not sure if I can be much of help, but there's a chat on the GitHub with lots of people that are willing to support. So I can help to find somebody who can, because I think I cannot really help. Because once it goes to the details to implement it, it has a lot to do with very low-level implementations of the. You have to get the types right and how the bits and zeros and ones to be positioned, and I confuse myself easily with this. So that's why I prefer JavaScript or high-level languages, even though I'm interested in learning this, but I'm not really good to help. There's a lot of others that can do better.
So after, please give me a way to
Yes.
Zero data.
Yeah.
And still take nothing for it.
like what I want to do is to learn how to do
For example, like
it. Actually, very interestingly, not in a big blockchain, but inside. This contracting and put it under JavaScript and then put it under UML JavaScript, not under the browser. That's the advantage.
Under what?
Under my, so that's the point. The point I can take, like I take fucking JavaScript, and it's not on the browser, it's on my app that is compatible in every place.
Okay. So also in the browser.
I also compile my browser in the same app. I can show you. I showed it before. So then I can just take JavaScript as it is, put it in the QML, and it's more.
Crazy.
So we deploy the
Yes,
contract today.
yeah, I have now, you know OMO?
Yeah.
OMEMO.
For a good start.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a
Yeah, it's
secret,
easy.
it's a
It's
communication,
nice because then you go through and
federal communication
Should I
exhibition
get on GitHub?
that create new
you
pair
can
of
also kind of try to
keys.
understand
There is a
the
message.
Okay.
Just the main part.
So it's a new level of, it's after saying that GPT is not good because it's actually giving the
It's a
message.
long time ago that I did the cryptography, but this sounds to me like a one-time path. What is it?
Yes, this is the perfect thing.
Exactly.
Yes, so they
This is what I remember.
put
But
OMO top,
And then we have the last one. This is actually
Omimoto.
I
I get Omimoto.
So this is the one that has like all the functions that you can interact with. So just on the
This
final
one?
we check.
Omimoto.
Anime. I mean, is it
Omimo.
like this?
And on Friday we have like
Om.
some crazy.
Sure.
They will
Ome.
share the solidity knowledge kind of like. But they were recorded.
Yeah, they're recording.
All right.
Yeah, this. This give you
No, but it's
go.
not hard because like
It's qualified if it's having everything. This is kind of currency for developers. Yeah, that's something we would love to see.
Nice.
Yes, and then you have every such thing that is up is here, the site, etc., and everything. And actually, what I did yesterday night, I just took
No, yeah, I had
the
rehearsal.
Converse
Which
JS,
was the rehearsal
which is
until 8.
one of these. And I took this one.
All right.
Okay.
I know it.
You know it, okay? And I implemented it in my app in half hour.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will.
When he said, like, let's go.
So then it's not anymore in the
He said, we're
browser.
gonna go at the end of the line.
Yeah.
The conversation is not anymore in the
Yeah,
browser.
yeah.
That's
No,
I mean, what I like to
Yeah, I
do,
can't
what I'm currently following
And
is
it's
this
just
called
this
the
week.
Tweaker browser.
This weekend when it's over.
It's
So, you know.
So it was a nice vibe.
Yeah.
it's a browser, but it's like a custom browser.
That's why I'm thinking. It's
So
it's
what
a
it
really
exactly
different type
mean?
of,
It's it uses the. I think it starts from the Chromium source,
so at least
and it builds like a browser.
Go into the philosophy
I think it uses the Electron. Have you heard of this one?
So is this a new
And
song?
they made just the normal browser, but they made one change. They use a protocol. It's called DAT.
So it's like
And now you can
Yeah, it's like a torrent, but it has like Git. It has a version control built-in, so you can update
but in
it.
order to do that,
So you can join the torrent file, but you join this DAT and everybody shares it, but it has the version control in. And so it's very nice to build websites, and I can not only browse the websites from servers, but all my websites I share. I can edit them in my browser.
So it's the data is always when you have site in the baker, the data is always available.
I mean, yes and no. You share it with your browser. As long as your computer is online, it's there.
Yeah.
But if somebody, as soon as you start sharing the data and somebody visits your page, they by default also start sharing it for some time, but they can voluntarily say, I want to pin this forever, and then they also co-share it.
The source code.
And then it's available always.
As long as someone is online that shares it, there is some open source software that you can run on your server. When the server to pin it.
Pinning is on the server, or a server.
Yes, but in theory, if you have one computer with one browser open and you don't shut it down, it's already a pinning server.
But then it will have many traffic. This is one browser, one device.
Yeah, but as soon as more people come on the page, they
Yes.
also the same at torrent, they start sharing, so it's not so much traffic.
So it depends.
But the only person who can update this torrent is the one that published it.
Ah, yeah?
Nobody else can update it. They can just receive the updates.
Ah, yeah?
Yes. There is one feature that the one who published it initially can send messages, because it's like a version history, can send special messages that contain certain keys of other people, and then they give them the right to also update. So then multiple people can write to the same. But by default, it's just the one who published it can update, nobody else can. And there is a Twitter clone that works on this, where basically this Twitter works like everybody has their own Twitter website. And if you follow other people's keys, you follow their their
only
ducks pulling to get their feeds update, and they follow you to get your update. So everybody's updating their own feed and sharing it
Because
in
if
stories.
it was some really
And the interface looks a little bit like Twitter. And there's even a chat system. It's called Cabal. That also works. And the entire DAT, the initial use case to make it was made to live stream video.
Thanks.
I thought you wanted
I will always.
Using stuff that's deprecated. It just means you should use it. Alright. So yeah, what do I do now?
So you did the calculations?
I did, yeah.
Now we go to the round.
143 warnings.
Ignore it. I mean, we will see at the end what will happen.
One effect differently in the hierarchy.
So
The browser
here
is
you
one
have
of
to,
many. Qt
you
have
have
full
to
hierarchy
choose the
of
people's contract
any
from the
object
drop down on the runtime.
have children that kill the children before he's dead.
Second tab here under.
This contract?
So it means keep
Because
all,
fitness contest is different.
all what is happening
That is
under
equally
control
one.
of this
So
hierarchy. That's the main
On the
point.
browser now?
and
So
now
the
you can
browser
deploy
in
it.
this,
Or-
yes, so
Or
the browser
or
is
connect
in
to the existing one.
the hierarchy of the Qt.
Okay, but this Qt is itself some kind of browser. It's maybe not a normal browser.
No, it's not a, it's a, I mean, it's a written for each device,
So
it's
now if you go,
compiled
for example,
separately.
to get folders,
So
get
it's
number
not,
of
it's not
folders.
said that there is
You
some
have to, because
QMA
currently only Alice and me manage to fund.
Yeah, we could.
You have to, because if you would now deploy your instance, it would be zero, because you don't have any
Of course,
folders.
yeah.
So
But I did, but the thing we did on the front end. was-
this is not the same contract,
Oh,
because
so-
I deployed it today.
Oh, this is just
Yeah.
deployed, alright, so if I transfer some money,
Yeah,
So
so now
is
how
this
you
just an app
transfer
that has a
money
chat, like
from
a fixed
here,
app?
so why do we even use this? It's ugly and
Yes, so
you
you
just
can
use
have
the front end,
Yeah.
but when
So
you're developing, where do you use the front end? You don't have any front end yet, you just have this developer and you don't want to build any front end.
So now in the
So then you can test if contracts work,
yeah,
contract works.
Yeah.
So now you, if you want to send some money, to the contract, which is funds, you have to set the value here.
on
And
this,
on the,
it's
on the,
all
on the
it's all
front function,
JavaScript
right?
in it.
No,
Yes,
So you
it
have,
doesn't matter actually,
And the
for now, you just have to
class is
put the value 0.5 ether, because this is the minimum that we defined in
I'm gonna go more.
each
Okay. And then in the
Such a
fund,
I got no money
wait,
because
into a
my
queue, and there
profile
are many
was
such.
so
closed.
it's really zero?
So it's actually classes
So I can send you some,
Please,
that
okay,
get
so the chicken was.
authenticated and you have to
Yes.
get-
because I wrote lawyer
and then
Berlin,
you can
give me
then
some
also
money and my ringgit account.
queue.
But
Yeah.
somebody else has them to
They
install it in my
closed
program.
because I
Yes.
thought it's spam or.
But why would I personally
Illegal.
prefer to open another person's program in my browser? Because then at least
But
it's some
imagine
kind of
a lawyer
sandbox.
asking for
Yes,
money.
Because if I download somebody
Asking
else's
for money.
program, I have to trust. It can be all kind of things.
Yes, that's the argument, and this is the biggest argument.
And it's also usually more complicated than just putting in a URL, but that's maybe another thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
the answer for this argument, the use case that I'm going to use it is for the Liquid Union organization to say, for your organization,
Uh-huh.
you might want
So just
that
to-
your
to- if you
people
want
will
to
be in
feel
a more
it,
secure
feel it
situation.
Yeah.
And then they will have
I
one
have to do it on MetaMask.
progressive
Yeah,
web
but what
app
did you do? You put the
era
values?
that everything is
value,
under the browser,
Yeah.
click the
and it will
fund,
be dangerous for your device.
because
Uh,
you still have
device
to.
The
of
account
your
limit
people in your
account,
organization.
the account is nothing, I should put my account.
I assume.
Yeah,
So this is a new approach that,
You need to enter the
Yes.
string, your name.
and
Okay,
so
yeah,
it will
yeah,
come
And it has to be
as
in
a
double quotes.
as a gift
Double, yeah.
to those of
Yeah, so
Here,
basically string, we said it's text.
non-hierarchical
But when you
organization.
write
I mean,
it in the
I have a
code,
feeling
you always have
my
to
dream way of interacting with any
so
apps is or getting other software would be I have
Here it doesn't
some kind of browser that I can fully understand and trust. This would for sure not be the
said
Google
that
browser.
this, but they said that maybe this
It's
is
probably
not,
even not Firefox, but something else. Maybe the best would be I build my own one. But
I don't know.
it is not yet so easy, so I hope it will become more easy.
I'm not looking like
And then I can just any app is like I visit the URL,
No,
it
we don't,
loads,
we don't.
but it loads
Yeah.
inside a complete sandbox,
Uh-huh.
and then I can
And
basically
here you put the
analyze
value,
and
but
check
you
in what
don't
is it requesting, how
And
and basically like my app or software analyzer built into the browser, and I just basically every software by visiting a URL. I
So
load
that's why actually I show
But I don't
one of the
understand.
features I want to show you what
And now
I
I
look.
do the same as I do
That's
on the
exactly what
webpage.
I did. I
But
said
what in
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is also what
Why?
in a way what the
Because
browser
if you
is.
are
the browser
leading
didn't
developer
did what I
and you
did.
just want to develop a contract,
The browser
where you have
actually
time
wrote
to build
this
the whole
cute
front
things,
end, and
blah,
then you
blah,
have to
blah.
use, I don't know,
Direct-
different
Okay,
tons of code
I tested
here.
before.
So you test it here, and then when you know in remix that it works, everything is cool,
Remove that.
and then you start building the front end and connecting it.
Yeah,
You can just reject all
Deleting
and
that.
start again.
And I call it
Just
again.
that we know that
And ask,
everything is
please
clear.
open this.
You
now.
have money.
Yeah, just
So now just close it. So now you rejected all of them
Okay,
because
I kind
maybe
of get
from the
what
past
this is about, but
some history with MetaMask. What the heck?
now nothing after this was just testing of encryption. And now
Sometimes maybe you just have to pay a
The-
little
the
bit
bounce-
more to
the-
get your
the directory
transaction
is written
fast because it offers
for
just
this
one
page.
way, and maybe you can just write 100 here.
including things that are legal, like you know local storage, but I think you don't know cache and cache CPU. That are also things that are written by this browser in that directory. How
You
do I
did.
know?
We have
Because I configured by
You did
QEMU
use remote error.
that was controlling of this.
And
Exactly.
you sent one ether.
Put all your files
Yes.
fucking here.
I mean, it's generous.
I have no
So
money
now you
anymore.
actually have
Look,
that in real time
Oh shit.
show you.
Now you have to.
Wow.
It could be
Yes.
how much?
that's great.
I got
Yes.
10.
So this is, I think, what is needed.
Yes.
So he
And
can
I
be your
think that
friend.
that's why I showed the clicker one.
Could you send me some?
Yes, I will play.
You
Oh,
find my address under lawyer domain, but I'm not public anymore, so I must
You
send.
can put it on Gitter?
Yeah, but you can't read it anymore, but
Tone-like,
because my
Baker-like,
Yeah.
account has been flagged.
so then you can see all what they
But
I
I
don't
can
even would
send
care
it
that
by.
it's QML, but it's good that this has this feature.
All right,
Yes,
so I
so
have the
that's-
address, I'm gonna put it on
That's
this one.
and then you
Yeah,
can
that's it.
actually
Lawyer dollar
go
needs money
to the
to
directory and
indicate.
rename it or encrypt it or
This
whatever.
is crazy. Like
The
somebody
directory.
said on the
So you
chat,
can
like,
actually
hi, something,
own it.
and then she was like,
So
hi.
I
the
could put
concept
it on
in
my
what I'm doing
website
is
or
to
on
have
LinkedIn
all in the
account.
build
Then
directory.
now I really study it.
Then in that
Yeah.
windows, it's like a sandbox.
Put it on your official page.
And then
Yes,
you can
information
have
error,
also
queue
Yes.
following
files
us.
that
I could
are
put it on LinkedIn.
I couldn't do those
and
on.
also the data of
I need-
that
I
are
need help.
this produced,
Or is it
all
unserious?
in the same.
I mean, it looks like
under the same
scam.
thing.
Looks like scam.
Yeah, but
So
if
that's
you
the
would say like,
concept.
hey,
I mean, it's cool.
I'm
It's
doing some,
basically
I'm building some
it's a
Solidity
cool
contracts
concept,
with Remix, and if somebody has extra
This one is
Rinkeby
Yeah.
ethers,
So basically, what we're
send them
trying to
over
do
to me so
is
that I can test my contract.
as many
And then-
nice to use apps as possible using peer-to-peer and maybe also blockchain stuff that would be
I don't-
easier. But
Yeah.
our problem
I
is
couldn't do it, I
currently
couldn't do
use
it.
the Chrome or
Why not?
Firefox browser.
So,
MetaMask
yeah,
extension,
so I did this
extension,
and,
So
which is
here,
for now
that's-
kind of good
that's-
enough
that's-
because nothing
So
depends
then-
on it.
and I
It's
said
like
it
for
for,
So here,
building a proof of concept and trying to see if this could work. But once actually people want to use smart contracts and all this,
oh, really?
seriously,
No, I
depend on
didn't.
it, then we should not load them anymore in Chrome with MetaMask, but we should load them into something like
Oh,
this.
that's why.
But yeah, so everybody works on something. So we now try to make the nice user interface and teach more people and try to they learn how to build stuff. But as soon as more and more people actually start to use it for serious things,
So what you do?
then either we need to switch to try to build something like this, or we hope somebody build it already and then
you
we try
can
to use
also
it.
tell you what
Twitter
I'm
on the phone,
This
there
is
is an app for that.
yeah.
Or you send it to
I
yourself
can-
on Facebook.
Alright.
Roll.
No one
Go
will
to
have
Suzy,
that.
and then
Let's
it's
confirm
compiled
number
for all
of
devices.
Four.
for
I called it.
No, now you can check one other thing. Let's check
And then
if you are
it
the
will be
owner.
available
You said your money was-
as an app.
Yeah.
that have many app in itself. Yeah, so, for example,
Yeah, it's just how.
this is-
whichever transaction gets included in the block.
I actually called from this to this,
That's really
Yeah.
that I can call everything in my
Yeah.
computer. So, but not only this,
testing.
everything here is
Yeah.
open source, so
Need
I could do
some,
any fucking open source, compile it and make
Ring
a
could be
QML of it and make it
ethers,
to the organization. I can
be test ethers.
configure for organization specific app here that are actually not from outside but from
trigger
inside
some
on the
transactions.
QML tab.
Is there like a
Yeah, kind of like to
explain
call some transactions, trigger
Yes,
some
Qt
transactions
QML
in my smart
QTQM?
in my demo smart contract.
I always thought it's just
Do
like
you have a front end for this deployment of
to
the
make user
content
interfaces.
that you did today? Do you have a
It's a
front end?
concept. It's a Qt
This is the
is a
same
concept
contract,
of
everything is
I understand, but
completely
it's
the same.
another
Q,
And we
department.
didn't
Q object say
You should have three that are on your account.
It sounds like a sandbox, what you said before, but now
Three.
How?
it was built in the beginning by
Demo smart app.
Nokia.
Demo.
Just test including
Nokia?
Please need some.
To trigger.
And it's
I
a
need
the concept is
some ring test features.
you have
Trigger some transactions in my
a
demo.
Q object in your class that is responsible for the putting your class
To
in
trigger some
the
transactions.
hierarchy of
To
many
trigger
classes.
means test
To
or?
call,
Sounds like
to
HTML.
call, because this all
Yes,
the
it's very
to
like
here is
HTML.
calling
It
transactions.
just
And you see, you
class
can
like
fund,
C++
so you
class.
couldn't trigger
So it's
the
like you
fund
can write
function.
up. So
Please
it's like
send me more.
two main things. One is you can
Money.
compile for all
Like this is all
devices
with
and
that
operating systems.
one is.
Two, you have
Yeah,
Q object.
Yeah, this is okay.
Two,
Send me
I
money.
wish you have QT.
You have,
And you can
it's a
also say
Qt,
here,
so you have a Q
cylinder,
object
if they
in
have this.
whatever you did. So
I don't
it's
know.
it
Can you
can
select
talk with other
Schlau?
things,
Or, oh no, that's not Schlau.
and so
Hundreds of amount?
this Q object is responsible
If
for
they have, I don't know.
destroying,
I was trying to understand
initiating,
if
and
it's
also
hundreds of amount.
communicating. So slot
Yeah,
and so it's, you can
Okay,
connect
okay.
events with
No. The number of funders is four, but funders of amount is something else. It's like 52 million.
So actually, any
Because
in a
what you
way,
saw
yeah,
actually is actually
That's what I thought.
it was
You
a
have the
real
same
time
total amount.
showing. So
It
everything
gets to
was
47
connected.
billion or whatever.
But
So,
what is the difference of total amount? Because like when players.
So this is the concept of
Pay some
Qt.
fee.
Mhm.
So then
QML is an XML.
Yeah.
Sounds
What
like
about names? What about
It's
the
like,
name?
like an XML layout of
When you use the print,
full separation.
the left
Yeah,
hand
The
because
side.
concept
I
there
was also
full
before
separation between
searching,
must have
the logic
and
and
which one is it, and I didn't have time to
the
really
how it's look like.
But
It sounds like HTML and
Yes,
JavaScript.
yes, it's
Yeah.
the concept.
Yeah.
It's also having JavaScript in it, and it's also having the
Number of
text
players,
with
zero
HTML
display
and
of amount,
CSS
zero.
actually. So if you know JavaScript,
You're better
you know
than
you actually
yeah.
can control QML
Yeah,
easily.
but I have to give, I don't have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then you can act the way I want to approach is to have also developer for C++ and also developer for
Oh, yeah,
QML or for
something that
JavaScript.
requires
All right.
Different developers with different skills on the same platform, which is
so you can put
Dolphin,
your address.
that will
Yeah.
let
And
many
you don't
people
even
to
have
communicate
put
on
the
one
address, you
platform.
have your address because this
Yes.
reads
Yeah,
it,
that's
and
the
then
main
you have
point.
here the copy, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I can say, am I the owner?
Because I was before thinking like, okay, if it in theory it's kind of similar, of course they have
So you
differences.
can say it's owner.
But if,
and pay
like,
for
if there's not like a fundamental difference in like, okay, this one has a certain feature that the other one can never have because it does this and the other one just doesn't have it, then it thinks like I would go for the thing that is the most
I'm the
widespread.
No, I'm the owner.
And I feel
Oh,
always
yeah,
this is
you're
like
the-
probably web, like most
So you
people
should
learn
get
some
both.
point and they're like, oh, I know I did some HTML already, and they have to kind of know it.
So then
But
I
everybody
can
sounds
ask
more
more.
niche.
Arguments.
But it also includes the
Yes, it's have the
Expected
web
at
is
comma.
it have everything in it, and you can continue whatever you know.
how can I is it possible to put this
How
one?
can I go up?
If you want to learn,
Over the-
No, I would like to take this one,
yes,
which is this one what we have now, and just use it in this one that you have.
cool. So I need the Java. What is the JavaScript of it? Let's do a practice.
Oh, it did, yeah. I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm not
For
that
example,
involved.
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do
What
it.
I put here?
Your name.
My
You
name.
can go to
Yeah, or like,
github.com
your business name, whatever.
/ Ethereum
Anyway, just for us. When I close the remix,
/ remix.
I know it's not. We have the address.
No, it's.
Oh, one second.
Yeah, look at that. I'm the owner.
Okay.
It's a
This
link.
owner.
I just was wondering
Yeah,
maybe
because of
the
your
live
design.
stream works for you, but
No, no,
I go
no,
to
I just
GitHub
found your
because we
address.
tried to add
But why? When I click, there are always
I hacked it.
when I
In theory, it should work.
when I click
What
here,
I go in
Yeah, but
GitHub?
you put the money on also for
Yes.
my service.
but it's always two.
But it was delayed.
I know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is the idea. Okay, that's all. Sorry.
Go
No
to
worries.
Sometimes
GitHub.
this MetaMask is also crazy, so I have to restart it.
Yeah, GitHub vote.
/ Ethereum.
So now,
Ethereum.
Yeah, it's confirmed. So now you can check.
where can I check?
/
Below you have all
remix.
these,
Remix.
Yeah.
Blue.
those functions. They give you
just in the URL
information. They're
Yeah.
all functions, so
Remix.
they don't cost anything,
Remix.
Mix.
and you can check.
Get number of functions. Four. And how many? How much they funded?
Get funders.
Get players of amounts.
This is get funders.
Get funders
This.
of amounts.
Okay, so look what
This
this
is
is.
how much
Cool.
in a way.
JavaScript, yeah?
In a way.
Let's do,
Yeah.
I show you.
So
the
5.7 Ether,
take
and this
this
is that much weight. They have like a frequency, it's different sub amounts. You see you have Ether. Yes.
Why you put it on way? Why you put it on A? Wait.
It's just like this, it returns this by default, but you can kind of change it in the code.
I think also it was a security. Sometimes people put 1 or 2 as a number because they want to pay, but Ether is a lot, and way is the smallest, like pennies. So if I put 2 in pennies, and I click it mistakenly somewhere, is not such a big risk as if it was Ether by
This
default.
is here in remix, but like what it returns, you ask for here or for here?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's not so big, but the history of the project is also old. It's like how to commit to this was.
Okay.
So you have a function is owner. So
I will just make a game, okay?
So here you see you have is owner function.
If everything will
And
run,
this function needs address,
I can actually, I will prepare it
argument
already.
address, type
So-
address, called ADDR. So this is type like string you in, blah blah blah. Called
Where is it?
ADR.
That's very
No. So its owner is it? You have to put a parameter address here. So you put some address.
How it's called?
The best would be, let's try something blah blah. Okay, let's see. It will probably say.
Just
Remix owner. It will probably say this is not.
I'm making now a new directory in the queue.
So everything in this is, and then I try to.
Index.
Yeah.
So what we
Yeah,
want
let's
to
just chill.
say here is we want
No,
remix.
it's kind of heavy.
So
Yeah.
that was remix IDE and it's so we go here. And we go here.
I mean,
Then we say
but the point is that like
we go backward and we say
and you grade.
this
So you can
in
say,
the
okay, shut the fuck up. But
HTML.
here is where people come because they like to come.
Punkt. Save.
People around the end.
Now
I try even to
it should call it. No, I never did it. Crazy, no? This is crazy. Only text file.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's actually cool, yeah? I hope everything is go, I do start. I now have a remix. And it's go, it's doing this thing. I don't know what it's doing.
Maybe it's loading.
Maybe
I mean, it's big, it can take some time, but maybe not more than 30 seconds.
Can you see any kind of debugging output from this window?
In this moment, I'm not in here, but I will go. Actually, the button should be here. It's actually still okay. I can do it.
Because
Strange, huh? This is the converse.
Yeah.
This is the links. I don't know what happened. Okay, now I'm back here. But this is how it works.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Yeah.
And now I show you how it's like the debugging of it. Oh no.
Yeah. I mean,
Bye, everybody.
bye. Good night.
See you, Alice.
Bye bye. Good night.
So actually, we go over here.
No, the problem that I see is that when people you have
So this is kind of loader of
Today was
This is a class. Every such thing is a class. Rectangle is a class.
Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking, but you do the, like, this is what I was thinking, like, you do dynamic intro, and then this triggers millions of questions. You will still figure it out. This is
I don't know. Okay, but this is that's how I see it.
where and now this kind of
Yes.
and this is what I would expect.
Yeah, that's
Usually now in
yeah,
Chrome, I could just open the developer
okay.
tool.
So moment I can do something else. I can actually say I can go to it in the browser.
Because it's saying
This
Yeah,
one,
you have
let's see
one
how-
of these that works. Right, I'm in the market for one. So mine is like kind of. I just have to go. There's a place
IDE
called,
index.
just to use it. Almost the same as already.
This is what I no, at the end,
They're really good though.
yes, although they're not really good for summer.
For summer.
And the second thing is that they're not really sound.
Oh yeah. It's not to hear on the metro or anything. It's at home. Yeah. They're not very mobile now.
You're loud.
Yeah.
There's a second thing that you annoy people that are around.
Oh, I mean, you're thinking about sound getting out.
This is sound that's like
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about sound getting in, but yeah. This is mostly like to just be at home alone trying to. I'm sorry, it might be. Am I annoying people? But is this you?
I just put like, oh, they are mine.
Yeah. Could be a really roundabout way to tell me.
Yeah.
This is it. That's how it is. I will not even do it in the browser. You're gonna do it in here. Okay.
So we were gathered there, exactly, we were gathered
Don't know
and
what
making complete sessions. But
The same. All the same.
But can you take now the developer tools? And you can maybe right click on the page and just go to the inspect element. And then you could maybe go on the.
Yeah.
so we go
Questions you can always say. If you don't think about it, you just have your five questions.
Ah.
I know you say depending on.
It's not working. But if it would work, it would work fine. It's cool.
Aha, I think this app only works on if it's served through HTTPS. So it doesn't work on the file protocol over HTTP. Then it needs HTTPS.
I don't know what, but if it's this actually if it's JavaScript on my browser, Yes, but if it's downloaded to my,
Yeah, but the app, when the app starts, it makes more requests. For example, to download the Solidity compiler and maybe other things. And then there's some cross-site scripting protection, lots of stuff, and then it will only work from HTTPS, but not from, for example, the because what is this one saying?
so where can I, like, okay, so what would be there instead?
If it instead served from localhost through an HTTP server.
This would be on localhost.
No, yeah, if this the content. Oh, did you?
No, I think it just.
Okay. I think the content, if it's not served directly from the file system to the browser.
What should I do that it will go? From where to?
I mean, the first easiest way would be instead serve it from a local host, from a web server.
So yeah,
Which can run locally.
Yeah, there is web server that makes the service.
You can install one, yeah. If you have npm, I know one to install, but it can also be something wrong.
But there is nothing like this available for everybody to do. So there is no such a server yet. HTTPS server.
There is one. There's one. I mean, actually, this project has all the stuff to run it in development
but
mode.
If
yes.
this is, but why didn't actually this is from, may I say, you should have.
I only got in because
GitHub,
somebody.
you teach me this. That you can make an IO
Yeah, it's closed.
so that
Yeah.
you can have HTTPS of GitHub IO, which is server of this. And then
Yeah, you can.
I'm a slave of a
So you
watch.
can have a
Give me the
GitHub.
key. Alice is locked out. Thank you, Vilma. These are cool tips, really.
If you need more.
Yeah. At the end, you can give us a lesson of how to make lessons.
I
Because we have in Nashville, then we have 150 people.
know, that's why.
How will I do that, please? Because this is gonna be crazy if we just go like this. Please. Really, whenever you think of something, I'm really
So,
grateful if you give
Please
me.
do it. You know what I mean. For example, your own. I did.
So you want to be alone? You don't want to?
No, I
don't know you want to.
So basically, basically at the moment I'm working on.
You need to register, but it take you just.
So as a maintainer, I try to.
Actually, Merito is a blockchain that is not
So
letting
people send
others
patches,
see.
and I review them and sometimes I update some parts of the system myself. So for example, there is Go and Ethereum, which is just a client.
You can just
So
choose a random.
from this perspective, today we learned how to write those contracts. And the Go Ethereum is the software that the contract is being run. That this is the like server for those contracts. So it is in like you can install it.
HTTPS.
Yeah. This exists. Of course, really.
Yes,
So,
yes, tell me. So yeah, and this is
Remix.ethereum.org.
You might actually like it.
No, write it here.
Yeah, like
Write it.
HTTPS.
HTTPS. Write it.
All right.
It's
Hackathon.
It's not a hackathon because it's
Hack.
Hacktober.
Hack. Like this.
So it is
Hacktoberfest. Digital Ocean.
I know. So the idea is that you have to send 5 pull requests on GitHub.
What?
You have to send 5 patches.
Batches? What is a badge?
Patches. Like
Patches.
Yeah, patches.
No, sorry.
And then you get a t-shirt, basically. So it's like
That's
get a
it.
t-shirt. So yeah,
How do you get a t-shirt?
you have to submit 5 pull requests on GitHub
Oh, for something?
for anything. It could even be your home.
Oh, and what is
I just
then?
do 5 pull requests on GitHub and I get a t-shirt.
Then I get a T-shirt.
Yes.
And the,
But you sell your stuff at the moment, so you don't need t-shirts.
It's
You're in the month of October.
It's a pretty nice way to like get familiar with how open source
Absolutely,
works.
yeah.
Although it's only on GitHub, which is only like one of many places where you can contribute.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So,
But anyway,
so
like
that's QMA.
it is nice
Because
like,
this is an object.
initiative.
But now this one is so basically
And
this
it's
is
browser.
it's a browser, but
Because,
it supports
Python.
more than just HTML, JavaScript, CSS.
These are languages.
Yes.
The products are
It's
written
about, this is a web view
in. So most of them are
class,
like,
the
you don't
QMA
have
Which
to
browser
submit
supposes
code.
this?
web view.
It could be documentation or some typos or like anything.
It
So,
looks for
yeah,
now that
basically,
it kind of
it's
supports all
made
the
like a
important stuff.
Yes.
That's good.
Start.
I could
It's a
send
pro.
them my smart contracts.
Cool.
Yes.
So this is
Yeah,
You
basically
see
yeah.
what I mean?
yeah. So basically,
You
this is
can
so
translate
I
those
can
comments,
answer
for
to
example, right?
I can show you. This is
Something that renders on my laptop.
importing this thing, and then you can actually go to,
You can sign up.
so you can go to Google and ask, what is this fucking thing?
Full request.
And it's this thing.
Yes, can do
So
any
that's
public
the browser.
just need- not
So
just
actually,
once
yeah, and you
highlighted,
can
the
actually,
cameras contain
if we
comments.
don't like this browser as developer, we can say another.
I mean, exactly. What I like is I would have my own browser, but what I really like is from the
It's
Chrome
not
browser
commits that I
developer
made
tools.
myself.
They're so convenient.
Yeah. So
I
the pull
mean, I want
request
to
must
work with
contain commits
developers
that I
that
made
each
myself.
have their
So
own
I just
like,
do pull requests on
in-depth
like my
niche,
stuff.
Yeah, you can, but
and
then,
then
you
we can
feel
collect all.
I mean, what I'm currently doing is I'm building a browser in the browser.
Maybe
Short
I'll.
text in the open
Like,
source software community, we're standing on the shoulders
when you-
of this
there's
with
a-
forest. Your participation
For
in
Electron, you can use a special HTML tag. It's called, I think, web view.
And what you are doing in
It's actually the same one.
Oh, well,
All right,
in
right.
previous
It's
years I
actually-
Yes,
submitted
but
some
also
small
even
batches to
without,
my
if,
friends,
for example, it's loaded in a normal
projects.
page, you can just use an iframe.
Actually, FreeBSD
And
is
then
not
the
on
iframe
GitHub,
can
so I
have apples, bar, and everything around, and even developer
It just
tools.
happens that
And then you
when
can build the entire thing that you have a browser in the browser.
when I'm about to start
Yes.
this
There is
And-
no
and that's basically what I'm
FreeBSD tool like
building, and then I could
No,
basically,
it's like GitHub.
whatever
It's like
technology it is, it
where
could be something like
programs
Qt
are
browser.
hosted their source.
With zero Chrome, it's just like
FreeBSD has its own, because
X
they
to
will
close
load
it,
this,
and
they
it just
don't
load my
dependent
browser
on
in the browser in
external
full screen,
component.
and then I can use
So
it.
if you set like this,
Like disappear.
Yeah, and then I could use this Qt browser or a different one, and I just take my thing with me. But I know whatever. But because the thing is, what I can't build is
We just have our
something that runs directly on the hardware.
Qt can.
Yeah, this is cool. But like somebody needs to build kernel and all this kind of stuff, so that
But
then
it's
I come to the
big.
browser.
Yes, so it's so the point
But
is
it's not
that
the official one.
we have
Just
already
like a copy.
Qt framework,
The
and we
official
have
one is on
already
our
code
server, so that
all
we can
those things
have
that
full
work,
control over
Yeah.
including browser, including file system,
So this is
including
an Oktoberfest
including-
without
It's true. It's true.
Yes,
It's just
all
a problem
those
of-
things. And we just
what you,
and
the
the
woman
point
wears
is,
at the Oktoberfest kind
we-
of dress.
I want to
called
have,
Dirndl.
the moment I will
So
publish
it's
it as a
Oktoberfest without.
Qt QML framework for those developers to QML to completely on new kind of browser that is a QML browser, which is higher level than JavaScript or HTML.
Yes.
And
So you can compete with Firefox and Opera and Chrome.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is cool.
yes,
But
that
my
is
exactly
account
what
has
we
been
need.
flagged
And
then
because
maybe
they,
what
they
I would
think
have
I'm a scammer
ideally
because
is
I'm loyal
when I-
and I need money.
I don't know what is the minimum amount of code, but basically when I turn on my computer, it boots into a full screen Qt ML browser. And maybe I can configure what it loads, but maybe I will probably
Why?
configure that by
Because
default.
I wrote
it
I'm
just
loyal
shows a
Berlin
single
and I
page,
need money
which
to
is
my
my
Rinkeby test account.
website
And then
browser.
they're flagged.
Like it's a browser in the
Now I-
browser, and it just
I
loads
wrote
this one.
Actually,
And
I
then
don't
I can make
know.
what I'm working on now personally is
they
a
reported you.
I don't know.
tiling window
Your
manager
account has been flagged.
in a
Because of
website.
that, your profile is in
Like a
public,
tiling
you believe
window
this is a
manager.
mistake, contact support.
Tiling that I have,
I
I have like
contacted
one
already
terminal,
the support and now I have to wait.
but I can split it into two terminals
I
or
know
in
why
four,
I
whatever.
Oktoberfest.
But not terminals, but each terminal is actually HTML.
The point is
So
that
each
you
one can be also an
find
iframe
a
and load
product on
whatever.
GitHub
Yes.
that is
And
already
I will-
existing.
Yeah, that's what is happening with
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah, but the
submit
thing is, for me
improvements.
and for many other people, because a lot of people are
I
out
make it
there who
better.
are experts in building nice user interfaces.
I should
They know
make it
HTML,
better.
JavaScript, CSS. So I want to build a tiny window manager, but
But
for this nothing, but they
code,
can
right?
build all this.
Like,
But then this one I would load as a in a very minimal browser like thing that is made the operating system with just this Qt browser. And it loads this one, and then it can be one or multiple tiny window managers, and you can all load these iframes and stuff in HTML. But because in order for people to use it, it has to have nice user interface. So it needs a lot of people who know how to build nice user interfaces, and that's usually people who do CSS and HTML and JavaScript, and not so much people who do Qt. Because they can build something, but
but that's
right.
That's the advantage. Qt talk with QML with the HTML,
This is cool,
CSS, and like built-in.
And do you need like a Linux kernel for this?
No, I said Qt can be on any device.
Ah,
That's the main thing.
so Qt can run on the hardware.
Qt is one code that can be compiled. Is such a code that can be compiled on any device.
Oh.
And you can combine all those devices.
How does it work? Because maybe I have different hardware. No. Just like because I have all these different hardwares, how does it support all the drivers for it?
Yes, that's the Qt thing. It's there is many abstraction in here.
So that can support all the hardware.
It supports all the fucking hardware, and you can also go to SUSE, and if it's open source, do not compile for all devices, which is how it takes fucking time. You can compile on the SUSE, and it will also push it directly to the distribution of the Linux and Red Hat and also those things.
Can I, for example, compile it from my phone?
yeah,
From your phone?
No, I have an Android phone.
For your phone,
Yes. So can I delete Android?
Yes, actually, yes.
By run.
Why?
And
So you're saying so I can delete Android? I mean, maybe it's a lot of work and not so easy, but like I delete Android, I install this one directly, and it's this browser. It runs in full screen, and I load my HTML, JavaScript, CSS, tiny window manager desktop that loads iframes and all kinds of stuff, and I can use touch and webcam and all this.
Yes.
Perfect. That's what I want.
Yes, it's done. Like that's Qt, man. That's why I went to this. Qt.
Now I get it.
Yes.
So I don't need a FreeBSD or Linux.
And it's one fucking code that you manage for all those devices that you never made.
Wow. And why is it working so well? I mean, how many people are working on this? How did they manage to support all the drivers?
Actually,
Sounds like
there
a
are
lot of
big
work.
first Bitcoin used Qt. One, two, big companies, then the used
be in a graphical interface,
okay, now I get it.
or command line.
because it's on all devices, one code.
Is the same.
Okay.
So
that's cool. So you
So
built
it's
the
also
browser.
for decentralized and also for very centralized.
So isn't there like more browsers that are built on Qt browser or something? There should be many of them. I mean, the Qt web, okay, but like something.
I show you how I look there, and I want to show you.
Qt.net.
But it's more like a manifest because it's like a.
Interesting. I will explore this more. This is
It's
interesting.
really,
So
and now
you find a maintainer.
Okay,
who
there is-
get an email if something is broken, or who can
So,
like
there are many
decide
versions,
whether
etc.
that-
So
yeah,
it's
the
also
command.
very developed.
the
It's
command
very
just
fast
let
developed.
you like.
One question. There is a website. Maybe this is important.
There are different ones.
So there's a webpage that's called caniuse.com. And when you search for any feature, it's very web development.
The license because
Can I use? Not in one word, of course.
This one
Don't you have to go to your apartment?
No, but we are on the ground floor. Sometimes, if I feel very.
Oh, no, you go to
No, we are reviewers yesterday.
Oh, really?
No, it's hard in Berlin. A lot of times I don't manage.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Really?
So, yeah, I live on the 4th floor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because in my.
Awesome.
Yeah,
For it helped me to kind of like mad. Like, how does it?
Maybe you just pick the first one.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
really didn't know how
You
much.
didn't know what
Background
it
lights.
is.
Because I'm working in business.
Which is a super basic
I
feature.
cannot go.
I cannot go.
I'll stay here for.
Forever.
Forever.
So here it says
I
for all the
cannot go.
browsers,
Play with us forever. We're not real.
There's lots
None
of
of us
new
are real.
new features and stuff. So now the question is, which of those is most close to the Qt web browser, so that I know what is supported?
I just arrived late, so I'm just loading.
with form
of life that we still need to
discover.
Sorry?
New form of life that we still need to discover.
It seems to work.
New form of life.
I have an artist for you. It's a carbon-based life form. Modern musician that will use life.
Oh yeah?
It's a Qt fix.
Carbon-based life form.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. There is one album called Interloper, and it's a such a
This
sensorial
is exactly the browser, and this browser, when you will look,
Imagine
it's
why
a
don't I sit in the bar and spend money,
Qt web
drink something, and then you very good. And then you learn together and exchange some money.
Go-
Super, it's like student times.
the home, it's a semi-home
The age.
that is it's
This is what I
configured
like,
to
basically learning and look
Qt
like he's a musician. Last time
without dirty things that Google do
like,
for you.
I'm in
so
the
the
bar,
Chrome
open
comes
history,
from
like,
Chrome.
look at my phone, oh my internet, oh
Yeah.
And
I like this.
what I want to do
And
actually,
when you have a gap in communication, like, what should I say?
after some things,
I
I
like
have
feel
to
so
There's
take
like
Tom
outside.
and put also here.
Are you listening to Interloper?
Tom,
no, he carbon-based life.
Tor, yeah, Tor.
These are very
to put it also
yeah.
here. And just I want you to show
I like
how
this.
the
Yeah,
the interface itself.
You guys make music for
You see,
like a video game or something?
all these
Probably.
stuff,
I don't know. But I remember the time when I heard them, actually, it was in Portugal. And it was
Yeah?
live at Boom Festival.
At Boom.
Now I
Yeah.
understand.
So,
We meet up
And imagine I was sitting in front of the
also
lake.
learning
There was the
English.
sun coming down. The lake was purple. The sky was between purple and orange. And there was music playing in the background. I was transcending just like existing without doing nothing.
Yeah, I know, but like it's very basic. I mean, it kind of working. It's
Good.
very
That's
useful.
very good. But if you're listening to Britney Spears all the time, that's the vibe you're at, you know?
No, yeah, I mean, everything complicated.
Ecstasy is 4 minutes long.
But it can be challenging,
Like,
you know, because
basically,
all
all the best features.
you know, the worst music is still
Yeah, this kind of thing, that's what I'm interested in.
thing is
That's nice.
Now I have
But I don't know how to make it run very minimal on all the operating systems. So it's one
I
thing.
did it.
and I see, learn QML. You can
That's
master
what
it.
he was
It's really
Yes,
basic.
thank you. So that you know who I am when we return, is that why you leave cookies first? I know how
I guess
you
I
are.
have like all of them for
know
you.
it's not cookies, right?
Now I have.
Maybe. So the point is, we're currently building this.
Oh,
We
yeah,
probably
guys,
need like
you know, ad
3 more months.
It's the best
We have a basic version.
It does. It works,
And in the basic version,
in the background, it clears all of them so that the tracker doesn't know what the hell you like. So it's because with ads, like,
What a big mess.
yeah, just like you just give them junk information. Like you're always giving them, yes, I like this, I like it.
The encryption we're going to do will take the header, which is all.
Master, are you still my neighbor?
No.
Animal, you live in Recon.
With the hash of the
But you're going to Recon?
code together with the key.
I'm going to live next to Frankfurter Tor.
So now you will, this is a keyboard that I put.
Can you make it your neighbor again?
That would be cool. Actually, we're looking for someone to hang out with us.
Yeah, claro. But now you are, I don't know where you are. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and it's done only here, it's nada.
The Prince Albert
Yeah.
is not there for
And
I'm living in
when you
Neukölln.
compile for Android, it will be just.
It's just sort of, yeah.
All right.
I'm going to move to
That's the
Neukölln
one.
for a bit, for
And
2
then I
3.
finish,
I'm going to
I
Frankfurter
read,
Tor for a
then
few weeks, and then I'm going to.
All is simple, all the same.
Cool.
I'm at
If
Neukölln.
something changes, I
I
will
know.
stop in Frankfurt or maybe Neukölln.
No home looked on the code.
By hand. I'm living by Hammersblatt now. But yeah,
And then you are doing with money and you're doing with
I won't see you.
something like that.
Maybe see you
I
next
don't
week.
like
I won't
that
be here Friday.
I think
No. I mean, the point is not for me the browser, but the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is like a
From
good
time to time.
technology to make a nice user interface.
yes, I know.
Because I mean,
this
like,
contradiction
sometimes
that
we are looking
yeah,
for people
one
that-
side it's
that-
so useful
meet.
and also
Oh, yeah?
it is trustable
Yeah,
by so many.
like
This is another.
for example,
so it's very
this
easy
this
to-
weekend we had
to
some
push
free
it
time and was like,
Yes.
hey, let's meet with
And from
someone.
that
Yeah.
side,
But we
it's
don't
not
know
its own
anyone.
problem.
And look, until this weekend, I'm pretty.
Point that I
It's been
put
pretty
here
crazy.
is
I
that
have a lot of.
by
Yeah, it's
QML
fine. It's like-
rehearsals
I'm
and
going dancing this weekend. If you want, you can come. You
We
too.
can
I'm going to
compete.
Menschmeier.
Compete
I-
Ping me.
easy
And I will
ways
check it, yeah.
to
And
make
I will be
up
with my friend from Wrocław.
and on the
From
Wrocław.
scalability
Wrocław.
pushing it
Wrocław.
because you can
Wrocław. Oh, okay. Yeah.
compile it for all devices.
I didn't expect this word.
Don't worry. It's the city in Poland.
Yeah.
I mean, I am totally for this. Like, if I would,
Yeah, but
I want,
like very
I
high.
personally
And I
don't
got
have
into this
any
bar, and
this
this bar has normally very, very
all
good
the
music.
desktop.
And we're
I don't
sitting
need
down,
it's a
and it's
bar.
like,
I would just start.
yeah, but
a
it's so
full
like I'm
browser,
so high that like I
and then I
can't
just
not
build one
be
page
in the music.
and
Like
it
whatever
runs from my
music's
local
playing,
host,
it's
like
like
this on my local. on the
Yeah, they're
computer,
flowing in.
and they
gives me
and
the user
they and they
interface,
play
HTML,
Destiny's Child Say
and
My
then
Name,
it gives me a browser
which is
in
like
HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and I can visit other pages.
But
But they're
and I was
always
like, I had to give into it. Like I just couldn't. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I know.
I was resisting it. I was like, no, man.
The
It's part of the
problem is,
meditation.
the
Like
way I
whatever's
see
happening
it,
is beautiful. And I really sort of,
the main problem
you know, first
is
faked it and then really actually fell in love with the song. And the song is like unbelievably seductive. It's like it's unbelievable. But there is so in the moment I'm like, oh my god, I'm going into like advanced states of consciousness in the pop song, whatever. But then it's like, but there is a difference. And the difference is
Was it
this is the problem.
What do you
no.
But
I used to work
is
with Kurkanish, but no, yeah, less.
You were in other place.
No, it was in.
I heard it's a good place where to work in Krupikani.
It's okay, yeah. It was kind of hard. I mean, it was kind of hard.
But
There's a lot of people.
there is good time at the end when you
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
it together,
yeah.
you share good time.
Good vibe, and it's a great place to like sort of.
Yeah, klar.
Yeah. It's a good place to be. Not a good place to go to.
I mean, yes,
But yeah, no, it's the
it's
same
only
head.
very,
The same
they
head.
have like a
Down
security.
by
wall.
the
Yeah,
church.
no, it's crazy.
I don't
Yeah, it's
too much
but
for me.
it's like a lot of stuff. Yeah.
For example,
And
what
yeah, but so
I
but then
I-
the story is like after 3 minutes of like
really not, I'm not
best song ever, whatever.
expert in any
But then
sense.
it also
But what I
this also
found
gives you a little bit of
is
an
that
definition
actually
about pop music, right?
my
It doesn't hit all of the things.
to
You know, there's
local
good
share.
versions of everything. It hits all of the right, like the pleasure sentence of the brain, whatever.
I
But
do
it's
my
like
best to
fast
configure
food.
it.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like
that's the
drinking.
thing.
For me, it's like drinking
Yeah.
a whole
But
like
it's also
sugary
to be-
water.
Yeah.
Just like drool. Of course, I like it. Like it doesn't like sugar. Like your brain
That
activates and
shakes
goes like.
connectors, yeah.
Like you like it.
It's accessing the API and pressing the button.
Exactly, you're just like this.
Without
But,
context.
but then you realize, but then knowing what music can be and like what you can do with really just taking your time and really waiting and then releasing, for instance, or that's like that's because the profound message of music is not the lyrics or anything like that. It's stuff like
There is other whatever.
it's musical stuff. So what I'm saying is
That's
like word
marvelous.
stuff. So
That's
it's
what
not
they
the same
give.
thing, but it's something you
That
can
you-
describe
here
like
you can
like
see it.
you can wait for a
Rename
long
the
time without
program. You
releasing.
can increase
Like
the
that's really like
whatever
you
you
just
can
like a
change.
music that takes 1 hour or 20 minutes and you never release it. It's always
By
good.
the-
And you relax into the fact that you
I mean, I
don't
like
have
this.
to
I like this.
go
This
back
is
to the time.
currently what
which is
I'm
why
trying
you
to
just
learn.
go,
I have kind of a good understanding, but not a very like I'm not a security person.
breaking it faster and
Or
faster and
let's say
then
security
and
research or whatever.
and then
But
you make spirals.
like I try to
and
wrap my
you
head
can
around
make
all
sorts of other
the
forms. And that's when
what
you
is
go like,
allowed in the browser
oh,
and
we
what's
should
not
just
allowed
listen
based
to
on whether
3-minute
I
songs all the
have
time. Like it's not good
open
for us. It's just like
a
having
page
sugar
on HTTP or
every day.
HTTPS
You know, like I like cooking,
or
but
an
I can't
iframe,
just
or a
there's just
something
no
web
way.
worker.
And sometimes I have to actually actively say, and then if I get new things
it's
with
called
too many
service
cookies, I
worker.
have to go like,
which is kind of an agent of the server.
So fucking dangerous.
If you get some instructions, just
So the
send them
service
to
worker, the idea is that
when
you are
just
offline
spam the chat
and you
box
want to
there.
get
about private stuff on the chat. Hey, what are you doing? Nothing. You want to go to this cafe?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So usually it gives you you're offline. Sorry, I can't get the website. But if you visited already in the past, the web page, it can run a service worker. And the party that gives you the source code of the web page can also give you this one. So this comes from the same source. And then when you're offline, you can make the request, and then the request goes to the service worker, which simulates to some limited degree what the real server is supposed to do. And then you can use an app, for example, if it's maybe an app in the browser, like a calculator or maybe a to-do app. So make one couple of to-dos, and then they're saved to the service worker. So as soon as you have internet connection, it can synchronize to the server. But when you're offline, you can, for example, in the airplane, you can.
I can give another use case.
Yeah.
I will say to Google, I don't want you to record my GPS.
But you could, for example,
Google will do a server.
Sorry?
The table of spots of the music.
service worker.
Service
I always
worker
put the cable under the laptop.
do it as a service worker.
Not maybe not this, but only like here, so that your movement of the headphones does not affect the port.
This was already done.
Yeah, I get it.
Google did so.
What I said. Is it good now?
I see.
Not yet.
I mean, yeah, then, but
I mean, you have.
Yeah, it's fine, right?
If somebody goes to a web page or uses Google service, then code comes from Google. Of course, Google can do whatever. Then I have to be very aware of to whom I trust.
That's the problem.
Yes.
But yeah,
But it's always the problem. Also,
but everybody trusts Google. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
So yeah, but you deal with users that do.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's why basically I try to find like apps that do maybe similar cool services as Google. For example, when I think of the Google has a spreadsheet or a Word or
Yeah.
all kinds of very
the
good
same.
apps that is very hard to have competition.
Music I really like when I'm programming. Since it doesn't end, it doesn't call my attention, you know, it just becomes this sort of focusing thing. Because if music has an ending, or if it's too interesting, if it has lyrics, I go like,
No,
I
Google
Google
Maps
lyrics.
is very difficult to get.
But also,
Yeah, there are
I also
alternatives,
do
but sometimes they're not so good. But
Yeah.
now Google Maps has good alternatives. But for the Google spreadsheet, I don't
what
know.
is Google Spreadsheet?
Like Excel.
Oh,
Never use. Never.
No, I'm also not using it. But like some people, they use the Excel and then they use Google because they all the time use Excel. This is what they learned and this is what they do. And now they can to switch away. They would need somebody to provide some Excel that is not from Google, like a peer-to-peer version that works somewhere. They can download it and use it, and it's similar good. Maybe they switch. But if not, maybe they produced a lot of data in the past, and they depend on this data, and they build all this code in this Excel, and now it's hard for them to switch away because they have all this data there already. So that's why for all these cool apps, there needs to be some kind of peer-to-peer open source alternatives so that people who use those Google services can switch without losing all their data or having like years of work to transition this. This is very difficult.
I would like to get because then
actually, I was looking for a good theme.
I like.
Yeah.
you know,
I used it already.
no, but that I
It's one of the
code
tools,
and everything.
Yes, there's a few others, but this one is one of
Code
the
and
cool ones.
And
Not really.
actually, the only thing that is not cool here, there is two things that can be good and it's not good. So actually we can just improve it.
I recognize it.
So okay, it's whatever. But I want that when you make it,
Actually, we were wondering
token for you.
whether
That
you
when you want to
were
delete it,
friends in Southern America, or you were just went like, okay, I'm going.
So for example, it's for
So then you
it's for stored for specific time, 14 days.
I'm going.
So I want also to say maybe less than 14, only for 1 hour. I just want.
Is it a command line tool?
It's a
Air Force came out and
They are not in the
So I want to make,
or they're taking it.
so this have a guitar. I want to make this, that's the guitar, okay? And I want to make two things. One,
I think it's more challenging.
that the user can get.
Did you try that?
I remember I met this
I mean, the problem. Okay, the problem
No, I
is
didn't
that
try.
here you can use curl,
But no, it's different.
but you have to trust.
No, look, this is not peer-to-peer. It's actually, the use case is different. The use case is.
You share files.
Yes.
Yeah, but with that you
No,
also
share file. It's not share file like that. Share file is different. It's like, yes, share file like that, okay, but on the server without saying that anonymity
Because
the sender and the receiver, actually.
right, that doesn't have this.
Yes, of course, that's the point. The point is that it's on the server, yeah? It's not, it's a communication.
Right.
Now I want to talk with you with home and home, and then to say the address to that server, and that you upload it, and then to key it.
Yeah.
Big data. And this is the transaction. Point. Done. That's a transaction.
But honestly, I'm thinking of when I'm sharing this stuff, I can just share a dot. Then I have a key. When I share it, it generates one. I can send it, I can use Omemo or whatever to send the key to the other person. Then they can use that to download the data, and afterwards I just don't share it anymore. But my real identity is not connected to that.
The problem is,
I mean, while it's sharing, it's maybe possible to get the IP address.
no, but there are listeners.
They cannot be listeners if they don't have this key.
No, there are listeners for any one of us. We are listeners. Now the point is,
But you cannot listen to that without the key. Like, I mean, like the key is the way to, I mean, it's encrypted, so once you have the key, I think you can join, like, I think they're using the BitTorrent, what is it,
if you go somewhere for 3 days,
distributed hash table or something for the looking up of peers, and then I can use the address from the DAT to look up, but if I don't have it, I can't find it, look it up, and then I think it's also the key to access the data. So maybe the data goes through different computers.
Expose the location of
Yeah, the IP address in that moment while you're sharing.
So there is association between the IP and the data, the content.
Yeah, but only the encrypted unless you have this original key.
Yes. Now the problem then is that there is another argument, which is the time it was uploaded. Now, if you do it in this way, I send there, and in some time after you take it from there, it goes at the same time, and it's through that server. So,
But somebody can listen and you send it to the server.
yes, but it's not at the same time.
The main reason why we are going there.
So it's not that the content is done in the same time.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
No.
yes, and
So then-
just to complete the argument, when you distribute encrypted content, it's allowing others to listen to
When you come to Poland, you cannot vote from outside
that
of
type
Poland.
of
What there is one project is called Homebase, which is there's a project what is called Hashbase and Homebase. They do the same thing, but Hashbase is more like a GitHub kind of service that you can run yourself. And home base is like a very minimal thing that is supposed to be easy.
Alright.
And you could run it on any server. And then you can share some features, some logs, and it will upload it to your home base server, and it sticks there. And then at some later point, you can get this to somebody, and this home server, whatever it is still online, you download from there. Okay, so then this project is called Homebase.
I'm leaving people will see.
I saw too many videos. Why?
Because before you. Okay, I'm a noob then.
No, they're really good. Last time I saw them, they had a projection of the album covers of the albums that we were going to play next, and these little animations, and they would sort of just, because they're known for like mixing stuff that's really dissimilar together, so they would put it before, and you'd go like, no way, you can pass from this to that, and then you would see it, like, oh my god, it's perfect, it's exactly the right word.
If someone wants to change the world to better place, so this post
I will try.
Alright, I'll see.
On the left side,
We'll
the
talk
small
about
door.
it later.
That's perfect.
We will
What is this project about?
Making
the world
fly
better.
down.
We will
So
find
weird.
Oh, perfect. Solves everything.
Actually,
So
That shares the code.
Ina, is it possible for us to go out on our own?
Yes, I think so, because I unlocked the left small door on the left.
Cool,
side. Yeah.
great.
It's not a big.
If not, you can ring or ping when we come down.
Yeah.
But it should be open.
I like your jacket. Super good.
Thank
Super
you.
hipster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
She's very
yeah, so this was the QT. Yeah, now
So Homebase would then have the advantage also that it's not a service that you have to trust. Homebase.
I mean, it's kind of like.
Maybe you have to run that
I mean,
Homebase
the
or GitHub Homebase.
fucking
You
give me
like
the
each language.
I
The
do
point is
here.
that like a real project
NCR.
written down, not like a real project
And I do
written in
Homebase
Solidity.
again.
This is already a
No,
code, so
German.
we say a real project written in Solidity
German.
can share code. Real
Wow,
projects
that
written in
is
Solidity
UK.
where I could see
But
or
it's
where I could
Homebase is like a
access
general word. You have to maybe also write GitHub and dot
and reuse it
because
for
Homebase is not such a unique name.
access code.
Homebase,
Yeah.
maybe.
and reuse it for
Yeah, or in GitHub you can type GitHub space Homebase space dot.
GitHub
for education purposes.
com.
So looking for any real projects
Yep.
written in Solidity
Yeah.
where I could access the code
Site.
and read
Maybe
use
this
it.
Oof, okay, you
Uh,
know
for
this stuff
education.
better than me.
Site. GitHub com.
This is Citre.
Exactly.
Looking for any real projects written in Solidity where I could access the
Yeah,
code
this one.
and reuse it for education purposes.
This
Yeah,
I had
you say
one,
self-deployable tool for managing dot websites. I mean, general dot. It doesn't have to be a website.
You can also
so
say
actually I
you
can
real
now
blockchain
fucking
project,
put
but
it
it's
here
cool.
to the lab, put it in my
Yeah, I mean, this is a command line tool that you have.
On
It's
Azure
interesting.
or
Yeah,
No,
but
it's Solidity. This is clear that it's
Solidity,
because it's Solidity.
looking for any project
So you can
I
install
don't
it as
have note yet.
yeah, I mean,
I don't need.
Ah,
I will need the note for this.
okay, maybe.
Yeah, that I want to.
How do you these
Cool.
days even
To
go? I
have
cannot
no
go on your
notice,
profile and
yes.
see everything you post.
It might be hard to describe.
You can, I can
Ah,
just
yeah?
go on
It's
the,
it's not for the browser. It's
on
in
the
the terminal.
wall and then whatever is posted there. I
So you
cannot
don't
see
use
all your posts.
QRL, not curl,
I have
but you use
PGP.
Homebase. It's a command. But then you need to run this software.
This is your activity. Oh,
But you don't need to run it on your computer. You need to run it on a server somewhere on the internet. Because
This is the server.
yeah, it's the
This is
server.
the server.
It's the server.
Uh-huh.
And then you
Uh-huh.
need to use the dot.
Interesting.
So with that you can share like a torrent.
I need to pay.
Yeah. Go ahead. It's both of those. It's all gender. I also actually.
Mine's value, for example. Really, that's an example of my value.
I have a touch screen, so it might open the.
This is a real project he's working on.
No, because I'm sharing this shit, and then look, I'm scrolling there. On the projector. So,
This is.
Can I eat the banana?
I don't know. I think that they don't give this for free here, but I don't know if. But you have here stuff. If there is anything
No,
less, so I don't know. Because this is from coworkers.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah.
You are a lawyer, you said?
Yes.
Look what I'm doing.
Oh no,
No.
I don't want to look.
Okay. Okay, go.
She's been working the whole day and now this learning and then it's like too much already. Yeah, and you're working tomorrow like at 8.
I work when I'm ready to work.
You go to the office?
Tomorrow, yes. But sometimes
So
I
you
work
rent
at
an
home.
office?
I rent an office, but I have my files and sometimes I take it at home and I have only one file at home and
Do you have some employees?
no, but I have a colleague and
I mean, so you
we
don't
share
have
an
to,
office.
yeah, you don't have to come because
No,
there's
I have a
somebody
woman
there.
who takes the phone, she's in service,
Really?
but I have not
Oh, so they don't have to call you. So you have somebody who answers.
yeah, but it's in service you can.
Yeah.
It's
So that officially if somebody calls, you're always available. Very good.
That's
So
a lot
not
of
like me.
a lot of freedom.
Weren't you asking about the difference between private and internal
A lot of
functions
freedom,
before?
but I need a
Oh, right, yeah.
That's
Weren't
why
it?
I
So
applied.
private functions, so internal functions can be called by function, by contracts that inherit from the function, while private can only be called from within the contract.
Aha.
So private is just a contract,
Right.
internal is contract plus descendants. So
Interesting. So it's very Java similar. It's very inspired by Java.
yeah, I never programmed in Java.
Or maybe there's probably many programming languages that do it, but Java is the one that I'm most familiar with.
Yeah,
that is
yeah, I
similar.
don't really remember. I mean, I know, yeah, I don't really remember a lot about.
Yeah, they have, I think, protected.
Then there's external. Yeah, external means it can only be called from outside the contract. It cannot be called from within. Yeah. So public can be called from
Well, that's
wherever.
a new concept.
Yeah, external is like cannot be. When I don't. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Wow,
Like,
this is so fucking dangerous what you said. If something is defined external, it's mean
It can
it's
not.
mean that
it can only be called from outside.
Google can only Google when know that function can actually
That's not
come
Google,
into
man. It's just
no, I mean
other
only
parts of your
someone-
code. Other parts.
all these
But I don't know why you'd be trying to protect like your like just don't. Well, first of all, there's the whole like just don't write code that doesn't have errors or whatever. But,
Yeah.
but like if you don't call it from within the contract, I don't know. Maybe there's like 2 different versions, and one you want it to be called from the outside, and one is called from the
I mean,
inside.
I was wondering why would I use it? I
Yeah,
can't.
and then you go like use this function, and then it's like no, you can't use that function. Use the other one that does kind of the same thing or something like that. That's what I would say.
I mean, I have a hard time coming up with a use case for an external function, but okay.
Yeah, yeah,
it's
but
inspecting.
yeah.
It's kind of inspecting. It's kind of something like a box. If you think something bad is happening in the internal, okay, something bad is happening, whatever that bad is.
Ah, right.
If something bad is happening in the internal, and you want to confine it and you want to monitor it, so you call it external. So it's actually a slave of that.
Yes, but
Yeah.
my English is that's not
Look at mine.
But
yeah,
if I don't have
here,
external,
and
I
it's
could still
one of
make
the
an
reasons I really like this
internal.
because I
But internal, if it's sophisticated enough, could actually unmake what you made. But if it's external, it could not make unmake what you made because it could not do the external
And the
operation.
content, if you sharing also.
But if you do it internally, you wouldn't need to write your own code to protect it. That it's not
We have a deal.
like whenever you call in Solidity a function, the information that it gets is the address from where it got called, which can be another contract or it can be a wallet, which is a person. And then if I write a function that is internal that checks if this address is one of a set of allowed addresses, then it can be called. So an internal, another internal method could maybe call it, but would never be able to do anything
This is what I
useful.
want to say. That like
But if you have the external keyboard, you make this maybe more simple. Then you don't have to write like special checks that protect this method. I don't know.
Don't get tricked, because if you make
I mean, of course, you can write a smart contract and you give certain person superpowers and everybody else gets no power. It depends what code you write. But yeah, I don't know.
But smart contract also is about dependencies between, like you pay and you get something for what you pay. So linking the dependencies.
And I know so many people.
Linking the dependencies.
So
I know,
let's
but
say
this
I
seems,
pay for
I know,
you
because I
for
was in
coding
startup, these
something.
things eat you up, and they're boring, and they're
Yes.
phony, and they're
In the smart contract.
This is
Yeah.
not,
So you
but when you
deliver
go to the
the
next
thing that you
level,
code,
I have a feeling
then you
that
get paid, let's say.
This is what we want to build actually currently.
So this is the dependency between two activities.
Yeah.
So I do this on these things.
So contact is about dependency.
It rings.
Yeah,
So it's locked or what?
That's a good question to ask for the reader code. So we don't know.
yes. Because really this then gives you freedom. Then you don't need to network or anything. People are just like, every day I get like from LinkedIn, would you work for us?
So I have
Would
to
you
go
work for
down
us?
and unlock.
People need developers. It's such a lack of developers in
Yes.
the world that it's,
Yes.
they're asking, please work for us. We give you money. And stuff.
Now, often I say to my students or to my friends who are IT, in IT, I was thinking to programming, but then I studied law, and sometimes I think, I should have done programming.
But
Yeah.
it's,
But you
it's
know
a good
what's the
time.
best?
Smart contracts are very new.
Yes, and it's the name is good for
Yeah.
contract and law.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
And you know what is the best? Exactly this, that the basic
I mean,
we should have. I was also like, why didn't I study? No,
No, I studied
you have
it
a
already.
domain knowledge, and
Where's
then
my
you
friend?
add
Check
coding
this.
on this, then you're gold. Because developers that I usually meet, they're fachidioten.
Yeah.
They just know these, but they don't know how to apply it.
Mhm.
So somebody has to give them job, and they're code monkeys.
Mhm.
But people who have brain, who can actually build something useful, this doesn't exist a lot. So this is in demand.
Yeah, no. So my
So
friend,
really don't stop.
my friend asked me, why you want to learn coding? For coding, you need so many knowledge, and why you want to learn it?
Because it's fucking awesome. Because I want different life,
But
and
you
you should
don't need
learn
so
it
much
too.
knowledge. It's easy. It's like
It's practice.
It's like with reading and writing. To read and write basics is easy,
Yes.
but to write like a
Normal.
Shakespeare is like a very hard thing. It's not so easy, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it
with
depends
coding,
what
it's
you want
easy.
No,
to
I explained my friends the contracts. We did contracts together. So I
Yeah.
explained him how to create a contract,
Yeah.
a real contract.
Go
Alright.
slowly down
And
and
for
talk
him-
and open the people.
Yeah.
This is it.
And for
Very
him-
I mean, I would love to have you more, but like just
Yes,
they don't
yes.
stand there.
Okay.
See you, everyone. Adios.
Like a bee.
Go.
To write the contract.
Okay, so
You guys want to leave? I'm just doing the crypto zone, guys.
maybe I should listen to it.
It's nice. I'm just explaining the difference between internal, public, external, and
Aha.
private functions.
So they do explain these things also.
Yeah.
Really?
It comes into
But in a nice kind of gamified way.
it's just sort of it comes up. They're
But
like,
would you?
oh, you can't use it. Why is that? Well, because actually this is the difference.
But tell me if you wouldn't
That's why I
hear.
love tutorials, because always like if you're invested, even if you have to make yourself be invested in what you're doing, like if you're invested, what you're doing is like you're going like, why doesn't it work? It's like now I want to know why it doesn't work, and then he explains, well, it's actually a public function, a private function, and not an internal function. You know?
Because Alice said, I'm playing, and she's like on the sixth, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm writing things, but I don't know what they mean.
Yeah. Well, I think it's.
So maybe it's
I
a good
don't. Does she know how
combination.
to? Does she know how to program
No,
at
no.
all? Oh, I think she's stuck with something else. It doesn't presume you know programming, but it's kind of.
The
It's kind of.
basic concepts like
it goes-
variables,
it-
they
it-
expect that you know.
It goes stuff like, hey, you need to check whether the number is 0 or not, and it doesn't explain that it's double.
Yeah.
You know, double
Yeah.
equals is equal is how you check,
Yeah.
or you know, it's
True, false, yeah.
what is
User
assignment,
return, yeah.
what variables, how to assign variables, like really basic stuff.
So she kind of copies something and it works, but it's like, what did I
Yeah.
actually do? But you
There's-
get a feeling maybe for syntax, so later when we talk about it, it's not so horrible, because imagine
Yeah.
somebody who never saw code to see this.
No, of course, but It's better to do crypto zombies than nothing, but I just do 1 hour of code or Scratch, man. Scratch is such a good language, man. It's good to really get the,
Get the logic.
I know it's people just see Scratch and you can do Scratch and still be afraid of this. But like if you really want to get into like how it works without having like distraction of like curly braces doesn't close. Oh, I thought it was right, and you're there for 20 minutes and it's like, oh, okay, I have to close it and then I have to end it with a semicolon and like it's well in Scratch you have none of that stuff in the game.
This is true. I usually give people a Lightbot. It's
Lightbot?
like some little thing for the mobile
Yeah.
that you kind of have to make the plan to get there to the light bulb.
Oh, okay, then
So
it's
then
very
you kind
similar
of
to
give this, then I go there, so you practice this logic.
Yeah.
First this, then
Well,
that.
I did that in Hour of Code. It's just like something that's really for kids. It just takes 1 hour.
Really?
Yeah, and it's
So this is a full thing and it's an hour.
no. Hour of Code, code.org.
Yeah, so it's
It's like start. It's
yeah.
really for kids, and it's like what's it for?
I
Of
think
course,
that's
it's just one. This is all Frozen and like it's all classic maze. This is the basic one. It's kind of creepy that the videos in between. I'm gonna go no videos because it's gonna be really weird. But it's sort of like So you got like it's essentially the scratch type strength. So you go run, you go move forward. Let's run. Where is it? Yeah, run. When run, move forward. Yeah, you got it. All right. And then you wrote to lock and you show code as JavaScript code if you want, but you don't have to see it. Right, fine.
This is music, maybe?
Yeah, this is like that. So this one is, of course, to kind of move forward. It sort of introduces the idea if he's facing another direction. Right. And then it said, my mother did this, and she was really raging at a certain point.
Yeah, it's cool for.
And then it's sort of like move forward, turn right, and then you go. Normally people just do this. They go like, yeah, that's it, right? Let's go. There's a bug. Yeah, it needs to move, of course. All right. Keep coding, something's not quite right yet. And you go like 1, 2,
actually,
and then it starts giving you loops and stuff. Like,
very similar to this code combat that you were talking about.
oh, okay.
But code combat looks a little bit overkill because some dungeons and dragons
Yeah.
and some. This one looks like kind of kids can do it.
Yeah, this you have to turn before, but like.
Did I have to show this?
Yeah. So this is the loop. Repeat 5 times. The move forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you go like, see, you only use 3 lines of code. You don't have to like 5. Yeah. And that's coding in a nutshell already. Like you're already thinking like, oh, okay, what about this one? They go like, I go repeat 5 times. Oh, okay, no, I have to turn right and then move forward 5 times. But of course that means it turns right, move forward, turn right, move forward, and hits the wall. So it has to. So it goes. Oh, I understand. It goes outside the loop, and then you go.
Inside of the loop, go forward.
Yeah, then you turn right, and then you move forward. And then it's it. It's loops. Oh, and then it's if. It's until you.
Yeah.
Let me see one from like 14 or something.
You can go there.
Yeah. Yeah, repeat until sunflower, right? Oh, so now it's zombies. So repeat until this has already been done. Repeat until sunflower. Do move forward if path to the left. Do turn left, right? And it's really nice and that's the thing I like about this in Scratch is that as he's executing.
This is Scratch.
It's essentially Scratch. Yeah. It's blocky actually, but Scratch
for
is
me,
just.
Scratch was always kind of when I started like. There is no assignment. You can do everything.
Yeah.
What should I do?
Yeah.
This is what I like here. That it's a class.
Yeah. So he keeps see every time the if is like him checking. Like there's a little. He keeps checking here, of course. If there's a path to the left, he comes left. Of course there is.
Wow, this is a cooler code combat because it doesn't look like some fighting and something.
But it's just the 1 hour, and then you have this whatever. This one
It's super. I would give this to everyone.
It's also for JavaScript or for Solidity?
No, it just teaches you blocky.
All right.
It's just like a
It
block
does this
based like
logic. It's
scratch.
just like bot in a.
But I think I saw some version.
But you should tell Bill what to start with this.
Can you show the JavaScript code?
Yeah, because then let's go. All right, so I'm gonna go. How do I solve this one? So.
Because
at the end you can when you solve it, you can show code. You don't have to write it, but you can see it.
All right.
Because repeat until it's like a forever loop essentially.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Especially for somebody like Vilma to just get the feeling, because he says that like crypto zombies are a little bit, they already kind of think that you understand the basic concepts of
like assignment of variables, like very, very basic stuff.
For these, the true false that you check.
Well, let's try with Vilma. Vilma is perfect candidate to try out if this would help her or not. Let's see.
I will give her this.
Because we really have to figure out how to teach it to people who have no clue about any coding.
Yes.
That's not so easy. And then slowly, step by step, maybe. But yeah.
Right, so
because she never wrote any code. She's just, she's a lawyer, and she has never did never any programming. And this is Solidity is now her first language.
Yeah,
so many things. It's way too hard. Yeah.
Alex. So after you do, he gives you this little.
All right.
This is what you actually wrote. While not finished, move forward. If is path right, turn right.
Right.
So that's exactly because it's block by block.
And his mom played also, because it's funky. Mom wouldn't play code.
So this is for children, basically.
Yes.
The use case, this is how children can learn programming.
Yeah. This is
one way.
Or you, or whoever. But that's how I learned programming. This is my first thing in programming.
All right.
Yeah. People think it's like science fiction, but it's not. It's like this is how you start.
And what is how it's called?
It's code.org.
So this is the whole platform for kids, kind of.
But this Blockly is like
it's sort of block, drag and drop.
No, but I know that there's also a library in JavaScript you can import into your own app, and it gives you this Blockly logic and spits out the JavaScript code.
That's probably it.
And they're using it to build this game.
Yeah.
But you can integrate it into your app. I mean, I saw it somewhere. I didn't try it yet, but
that must be it because he does have this show code and it's JavaScript code underneath. And then after this is just an hour though. After this, I had a really, really nice tutorial on which was on something called Khan Academy.
I know Khan.
Which is a gamified sort of learning.
But it's less gamified than this.
Gamified means it just gives you like stars.
Yeah, right.
You've watched 100 hours. Here's a star. Whatever. Achievements and stuff so that you stay engaged. So that's what I mean by gamified.
This is also what we want to do.
And then she was really, really good because she explained like something that people like to this day I do that's really important, and I know that there's people who don't do it, right? Which is like, for example, when you see the one equal sign, I always think gets.
What? Gets?
Gets. Because that's the verb it is. Like if you think like any
gets
owner, the variable owner gets MST sender.
Okay, yeah.
And double
if you translate it to language.
Double equals is equals, but one is gets. Start time gets now.
Yeah.
And it really it reads very organically.
I see, makes sense.
Yeah, it's always it's interesting. It's an assignment, and it gets So you win duration gets 604. In this case, you're initializing it. But if you put here duration gets 3, duration starts being 3.
And it always works until you use weird JavaScript, then it doesn't work anymore. But yeah.
And then you're comparing. I mean, but the variables not whatever.
For variables.
Yeah, it's for variables. It's just for variables.
Yeah.
A variable is an assignment variable, like the word. The word in English that most easily.
True. Yeah.
Is gets for the equal.
Yeah, it works.
Because if you see equal, and for beginner or whatever. But it's like, but if you.
But it's one direction. of understanding. Like there are two directions.
No, but there aren't, because that's what you're doing.
Just one moment, please.
Oh, sorry.
You can say owner gets message blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And you can say message blah 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 push to owner.
Okay. Right.
So an equal is actually both. So actually, when one understands that owner gets message sender, there was someone to push message sender to owner. And when this is understood,
of course,
there is deeper
Then we have a
understanding
contract agreement on both sides.
Yes, and then it's actually, no, I just say, if you are deep in the language, then
no, you're right,
there is
of course.
another layer of understanding.
Of course, yeah, because that could be a function that returns another value, like you go, you know.
No, you understand what I mean? I mean, so that the understanding through the language will also understand the other side of.
Yeah, but unless you have JavaScript and this variable is a variable on the window object, and then you assign it, but you actually defined on the window object a getter, so then actually a function gets executed and the function does random bullshit.
Yeah, and if this is JavaScript, it's not a variable, it's an object, because everything's just an object. Everything else is just
all right,
synthetic sugar for an object.
But is it no, because nothing is here, as you know, it was not working.
Yeah, so the problem seems to be